there's no Spencer Rattler jersey.
All right. We should be live. Can we get
I'll
a check from Jack? Appreciate it.
High sheet.
Turn my Spotify off to be sure that's not
High sheet.
coming through.
High sheet.
Everything else should be ready. We should
Oh, man, that took a lot of work to go through tiebreakers, but I'd open up like 12 different teams pages to figure out tiebreakers.
Yeah, I think some
But
of the
my playoff field is set.
I'm gonna have to go through like.
What?
All right, so this is from my brother. Watched y'all's take on the Patriots, and my thoughts would be that I'd say it's unfair/unrealistic to say they didn't do enough in free agency, that they didn't get a splash caliber player. That wouldn't be considered doing it the Patriot way. Couldn't tell you a signing we've had in the past that was a major splash. Patriots have always been considered to pick up role players. People do their jobs exactly as they're intended to do. However, I do fully agree with the take on if they don't have things clicking and poor Drake May play, we could see them at 2-7 going into Week 10. The one more year for the offense is 100% correct. Thank you. The young receivers in the room have to make a huge impact due to me seeing Diggs as more of an Edelman spot, running the short slot and being a safety blanket with Williams running the deep ball and Henry coming under on drag or on a curl. The defense has every right to be a top 10 defense with the talent there, but it'll all matter how the D-line plays. Cornerback and safety group should be excellent, but if they're mediocre, that'll cost them 3 games because of that. I'd say that stretch of Carolina, New Orleans, Atlanta, and the Browns is the most critical to win if they want a wild card spot. This will be a huge run-heavy first team that opens up the deep shots to Williams or the short to middle slants for Diggs, expect Will Campbell to fight 1 or 2 people for hitting May too hard. That would be sick. Most wins will come down to if we can actually protect our quarterback in order to allow time for receivers to get open. That was a major issue last season, as Drake would be under pressure instantly, meaning he had a lot of guess balls thrown rather than an open receiver. Expect to see big wins, but don't be surprised if we take bad losses due to youth in the locker room. So that wasn't as much Hayes, I thought.
Yeah.
But the preview was all hate, so I was expecting all hate.
Sure. He agrees with me. I am interested. So he basically was like, I disagree with the fact we didn't make a splash, but then he also is kind of like, we didn't make a splash.
I guess
we did what the
he's saying
Patriots
it's
always
not a bad
do.
thing. It's not a bad thing.
Not necessarily a surprise.
Gotcha. Well,
And my
I didn't.
pushback on that would be he said it's the Patriot way, but I would argue it's the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era Patriot way.
Well, Kraft is still the owner.
That is true, but I don't know what kind of success. I guess they were good pre-Brady.
Yeah, but hiring Vrabel is
That's
a splash,
right?
it was we are going to be the same way as
That's
much
fair.
as we can as we were in the Bill Belichick era.
Yeah.
Talking about Williams a lot, I did see Williams is currently practicing behind Keyshawn Butte.
Yeah,
And
he's high on Williams. So
Travion Henderson is currently RB3.
Behind Ramondre and who?
Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, Gibson was actually pretty good last
Yeah.
year.
That's not like the worst place to be. I mean, there's very different backs still, so cool.
I still don't think either of them are good enough to be third down back for New England. I think Travion will be in there for pass protection and
Yeah, sure.
catching out of the backfield.
Antonio Gibson's kind of your gadget guy too.
We ready to start the podcast?
Travion better.
Sure. I mean, I agree with that. Even though Antonio Gibson was, a
sure.
Washington Commanders draftee. So
Go ahead.
We can start a podcast.
what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Fowl podcast. You're joined, as always, by the three of us. I'm Jack Anderson. To my left is Sanders Oakley, who in just a second we'll have a couple things to address
Oh gosh.
/ reveal.
I forgot that I had agreed to do this.
And then to my right is JP Pusilowski. Good to be back with y'all. Happy to be here. We're going to roll through the NFC West division today, do our predictions, break it down for y'all, give y'all some good stuff. But what we've all been waiting for, guys, do you want to do the fun or the not so fun first?
Okay. I realize now that when I said that I think we should do it on I think we should do it on Wednesday. because I'm going to preview it and say that it is a team from that division. Does that make sense? Is that better? Because I haven't done all the research, and so I want to be able to talk more in depth.
So you're a Chargers fan.
That's not what I said. You didn't hear
He's
me.
a Chargers fan, though.
Okay.
He is a Chargers fan.
You're not a Raiders fan.
Because
Whoa.
they just came from San Diego,
Yep.
and he's a
Yep.
Padres
Yep.
fan. He's a
I think I'm
Chargers
becoming
fan.
a Chargers fan.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about it, like all this debate about but it's not. We haven't really been debating Justin Herbert. Like we keep throwing digs one way or the other. We've been
We've been waiting
talked
for the
about
show.
it. So on Wednesday we're gonna do our AFC West preview. I think I've become a Chargers fan, which is convenient. I wish they were still in San Diego, so then I could just be a Padres and Chargers fan. I may have to try and find some throwback San Diego Chargers gear and
I don't think that's too hard to find, to be honest.
Probably not. Probably looks better than the Los Angeles gear anyway. I don't know. It's just Justin Herbert. After you showed me the fishing video, I was like, I kind of like this guy.
Dude, that
I
fishing
vibe with
video
this
is
guy.
sick.
So we'll see. I mean, not we shall see. I
Favorite
think I'm
Charger of all time.
Phillip Rivers. No. Did LT play there? Right.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
That's where he became a household name.
That's what I thought. Also, we do debate on. I think that LT is Lawrence Taylor. You think it's LaDainian Tomlinson, right? If you said LT, where does your mind go? It goes
It's LaDainian Tomlinson.
Okay, I would say it's Lawrence Taylor, but that's just
So you're a Giants fan.
definitely not a Giants fan.
That's what I just heard.
No.
Well, congrats. JP probably thinks that's a terrible pick.
Yeah,
That's
that's probably his second or third worst quarterback in the league.
Yeah, as a fellow enjoyer of
He's inside
Justin
the top
Herbert
15.
back to his Oregon days, I think it's a pretty good pick. Now you're probably in for a good bit of heartbreak. Now we have to
Yes.
address the error in your ways. You mentioned you have an apology
Yeah,
to make, which I'll
yes.
preface it first with saying you wouldn't even have to make an apology
If I
except you had
had
to attack both of us
Yeah.
on Friday's show
Yeah.
about doing this, only to realize it kind of was inevitable.
Yep.
So there you go. What do you?
So on Friday's show, Jack and JP were talking about how they had switched not a lot of picks, like one or two of their picks that we had made in previous. Basically, when we pick an AFC North team, we pick them to win. When we get to the AFC South team, or the AFC East team that plays them, that team has to lose, right, for it to balance. But when we get to that situation, we're now 2 weeks farther down the line. We've done more research, looked at more teams. They had both started changing one or two of their picks, and I was like, guys, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm not changing my picks. And then I was doing my picks this morning, and I was like, yeah, I got to change some picks. And so I texted them, and they're saying that I had. What did you say I had, JP?
Lack of integrity.
Yeah, it was a very, very long, hard debate. I prayed about it, read my Bible. I mean, it is Sunday,
Sure.
in church. I thought about it a lot. No, that is not what I. Anyway, it was. Yeah, I do feel bad, but I also don't care. So.
Well,
One
yeah,
of
I
the-
mean, we've both done the same thing.
Yeah,
It's more so
it-
the fact that you
yeah,
had to
it's 'cause
try
I-
and take
it's
the
'cause I
high
talked on
road
y'all.
and then
That's on
immediately
me.
fell off.
That is on me. Yep.
I'll accept your apology.
I appreciate it, JP.
I had a ton of movement today. I made
Yeah, you
3 or
have
4
to.
Whoa, a
games
ton of
today.
movement. You can't do a ton. I'm gonna make fun.
I
of you
think I
again.
changed 3 or 4 games today.
I think I changed 4
But
as well.
now my playoff picture is finalized.
I probably
don't-
actually
I
did
don't
too.
plan on changing another pick.
Have you
going
already done your
forward.
AFC West picks?
Yeah, already.
wouldn't
Well,
looked ahead?
because they pretty much auto-populate besides.
This is true.
our
The
division- our
division
divisional
matchups.
picks.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and threw those in there.
Okay.
So my playoff picture is set.
Yeah. Never mind.
Which will be
um,
revealed on our kind of final overview show.
Yes,
Correct.
Exactly.
Yes. So
Yeah.
we'll get to those soon.
Yeah. That show will probably be 3 hours. Wait, are you talking about the final preview or the big NFL show?
Big,
big NFL show.
I
Okay.
would
I think
The-
that'll be.
shorter.
I
It
think
should
it'll
be shorter,
be
hour
the
and a
same
half.
length.
Yeah, it
as
should be
the
hour,
about,
half hour,
yeah.
45. I think Wednesday show is gonna be 3 hours.
It could be.
We're gonna find out, I guess.
Chargers is gonna take hour 15, and then we've got hour
We're gonna
45.
I'm not even really the moderator of the podcast because we don't really have anyone fulfill that role. But I will be cutting this off at some point if it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Has
I
been-
do think it is. We've done well in terms of a bookend, opening with a very intriguing division in the NFC North, and then closing with what has
Correct.
turned out to be a very intriguing division.
At least for our
It was-
podcast,
I think
it's
it was
very
always going to
intriguing.
be it was always going to be intriguing, because the Broncos are so with Bo Nix at quarterback. We're always going to be, even if they aren't going to beat the Chiefs, they're still going to be an intriguing team. And then the Chargers are going to be intriguing because Harbaugh in year 2 he brings in all the Michigan guys.
And then with Geno Smith, the Raiders are looking to make a huge leap.
Emergency
Yeah.
pod.
Yeah.
Emergency pod. Yep.
For James to tell everyone they're going 1-16.
No, okay. No, we're actually going to talk about that Wednesday.
Yeah, we will.
I'll explain why I
We will.
wanted an emergency pod. It's not because I thought Geno Smith is the top 10 quarterback. But what's today? I forget.
It's
NFC
the NFC West. Yeah. A division that I also feel like is interesting, just because I don't feel very muddled.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any truly terrible teams, and I don't think there's any elite teams in this division.
Yeah, probably not. And, I mean, you can make an argument that the 49ers should, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll start breaking it down when we get there.
Yeah.
So we want to queue up the Cardinals?
Yeah, we can get into the Arizona
Let's do it.
Cardinals.
Are they the first alphabetical?
Yes,
team?
they were this is the first sheet I started building in this spreadsheet.
Very nice.
Tough place to have to start.
Yeah, I didn't put all the information in, but like this is my test dummy to make sure, and then I can just duplicate every sheet from there.
Fair.
The Arizona Cardinals are up. One of the worst kept secrets in the league last season is that the Cardinals were an 8-9 football team, missing the postseason by just 2 games. Now the Cardinals only won 1 game against the 2024 playoff team, but they did finish 3rd in the West and therefore will face an easier schedule again this year, with only 4 playoff teams on their schedule: the 4-seed Rams, 4-seed Texans, 3-seed Bucks, and the 7-seed Packers. So another easy schedule, another chance to go on another under-the-radar season, a potential chance at a winning season. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Year 3 for Jonathan Gannon. He's another one of those head coaches who had a cringe moment during their opening season. The Cardinals are going to hope he can pull off similar results seen by Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell. Jonathan Gannon's he was on Hard Knocks.
Okay.
And no, just not on Hard Knocks. It was posted by the Arizona Cardinals social media team, and go look this up.
Is this him
in your
greeting
other
Kyler
time?
Murray?
No, he was giving a speech to the team, and he was basically, the premise of the speech was, are you going to earn your ticket and get on that bus with us? And it was really cringe and really awkward, well worth the watch. It was posted by their social media team, so the Cardinals liked it, and then it was just super cringe. And you think on Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell's were the press conferences. Nick Sirianni's was one of the worst opening press conferences we've ever seen from a head coach, and then Dan Campbell had the biting your kneecaps off. Now we've seen great success from both of them as they've gotten further and further into their coaching career with the Eagles and the Lions. So Cardinals fans are going to hope that this is something that they can see from their team as well. One of the first questions I'll go ahead and ask and pull it up, Kyler Murray, pull up his stats from last season. Good season for him, 3,800 yards, 93.5 pass rating. The touchdowns, a little lower than you would like, but he had 570 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns as well. A good season for Kyler Murray. He's got 2 more seasons under contract with the Arizona Cardinals. So my first question to y'all is, has the contract that they gave Kyler, which was kind of controversial at the time, has he played up to the standards of that contract? Do you expect him to play to those standards of that contract this season as well? What are your thoughts on Kyler just in general? He used to be an Aggie before he was a Sooner.
Yeah, we developed him. #QBU. No, so Kyler spent a year at A&M and then went to Oklahoma where he was actually developed. He kind of sucked at A&M. I'm of the opinion he is currently underrated, actually. I think the switch has flipped. I think most people view him as a QB you can't win with, stuff like that. And then looking at the contract, which was I don't have the exact numbers on it, but he got
It was around $40 million a year.
He got a good chunk of change. The injury also, I feel like it kind of makes it hard to evaluate that. In terms of how I view, he's a QB I do actually think you can win with. The issue is I don't think he's been surrounded with the most talent offensively or defensively. They've just never really had the best roster, and he has had poor moments. But I was impressed with his season last year. I thought he put him in a lot of good spots to win. Mm-hmm. I think going 8-9 with that roster last year really isn't that big of a deal, and just kind of some of the issues they had.
Yeah, that was something we talked about big time in the pre-draft process with talking with the Cardinals, was just that this was a team that had almost zero talent on it outside of Budda Baker, the left tackle, Paris Johnson, Kyler, and Marvin Harrison. and they addressed that big time in this offseason. They went out and got a lot of pieces that can fill in these kinds of roles. In the draft, they kind of get a steal, if you would say, and a slide in Walter Nolan out of Texas A&M, not out of Old Piss, in my opinion. Debate on that if you'd like. But they also get the big steal that we kind of thought, Will Johnson. He slides all the way to the second round out of Michigan, this is a guy who's going to be at one point last year, he was mocked to be inside the top 5, pretty much guaranteed, and he slides all the way to the second round. They had Jordan Birch, a linebacker from Oregon, who's played a ton of snaps, and then Cody Simon as well, who's played a ton of snaps for the national champion Buckeyes. In free agency, they added the veteran Calais Campbell. He returns to Arizona. Jalen Jones, who was a good corner for the Bears, joins them.
Gig 'em.
Another Aggie as well. Josh Sweat, who is one of the premier pass rushers from these Eagles teams that have gone to the Super Bowl the past 3 seasons, joins the Arizona Cardinals. And then Dalvin Tomlinson, who is aged but has been a very productive defensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns over the previous years. So my next question to y'all, do you guys think they've addressed the talent thing, or is this a team that's going to, like we've discussed in the past, specifically in the AFC East, is this a team that kind of has another year to go before they're there with the talent?
I think the talent, they made huge upgrades, especially in that defensive line. I mean, you talked about them spending the first-round pick on Nolan and then bringing in Tomlinson and Campbell. Last year, I think they were a little bit smaller and just, like you said, like it was a talent thing. They just were starting guys that should have been backups on any other, like should have been backups there and would have been backups on just about any other defensive line. So I think that they did definitely upgrade the talent there. I think there was also, I'll be interested to see what the offense looks like, because there it wasn't necessarily a lack of talent. It was more of just a lack of chemistry at times.
Fair.
And so we'll see what you can do when you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray and Trey McBride. Because Murray and McBride, I mean, they played well together. But
they were excellent last season.
They got to find a way to get Marvin Harrison Jr. involved.
Exactly. And so I'll be interested to see if they can utilize the talent they already have on offense. And then also, I mean, on defense, what does that look like? Can they utilize that talent, or is that an institutional, is that a management issue where they just, for some reason, can't get players to click and work together well? I don't know.
Yeah, the Marvin Harrison thing is a big one. Did you get that picture? Did you put that picture in there?
I couldn't get it.
That's fine. Okay, so a huge tweet, and more specifically, it was a huge conversation topic with Marvin Harrison last year, not only from a Cardinals perspective, but from a fantasy football perspective, because we had guys who were taking him in the first round of fantasy football drafts because of the talent that he was. Marvin Harrison was outright, point blank, he was not used correctly last season. He is known for his elite route running, specifically his ability to create separation on horizontal routes, whether that's ins and digs, or that's outs, or it's curls, or whatever it is. He's in he has the 47th highest horizontal route percentage last season out of receivers, and yet he wins those routes almost top 20 in the league. But he was the 19th highest vertical route percentage, meaning the Cardinals were just sending him on goes, and a lot of the time they were sending him on go routes with just like no intention of like ever throwing him the ball. It was almost like a distraction just to escort the safety out of the play. And he was top 20 in vertical routes. And Marvin Harrison is not a guy that's known for his speed and breaking you over the top, and yet he's top 20 in vertical route percentage. He wins those routes at a top 50 rate at 49th in the league. And so Harrison was just used improperly the entire season. That's something the Cardinals fan base noticed. And then this was a tweet that was also sent out this offseason that kind of highlighted that and put that into a statistical manner.
Yeah.
And so that's something they're expecting for them to improve on this season. I haven't heard necessarily from Cardinals training camp. I haven't really looked into it too much, but it's something the Cardinals fans really hope they use. And for fantasy football fans too, like in dynasty leagues specifically, Marvin Harrison is supposed to already be a wide receiver 1, and last season he played at wide receiver 2 at best from a fantasy football perspective.
Yeah, so a couple things about Harrison. I think one of the things that, first of all, wasn't their stats that his like top speed was like record breaking low through like the first like 3 to 6 weeks of the season?
Yeah, that was a report at some point.
Like
yes.
the next gen stats, they track player speed. It was like this dude is running so much slower than he was in college, and a lot of it looked like lack of effort, and maybe that was in part because
I think he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah,
out
he
there.
was
Like,
running verticals, and it was like, well, they're not going to throw me the ball. I'm just not going to try. So that's one thing. I will also add this to play a little bit of devil's advocate to say that Harrison's season was not awful. He had over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns as a rookie, which it's just when you think about the fact that he was a 4th overall pick, that's when it's like, okay, it was bad. So it's more of it's relative to his position. If you had a late first rounder or a second round pick that came in and it had 800 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns, it would have been a lot different of a story. So the narrative is very much pushed by where he was drafted, but I think that we could see more development in that second year, especially because, I mean, he was a pretty young. I mean, he came out as a junior, but I feel like he was young even as a junior. I mean, he turned 22.
And it was, well, for him, it was kind of rare because he wasn't one of these receivers that was coming out of college he's not a big personality. You think of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. He's one of those receivers that just was not a huge personality, and that's not something we've seen from these young receivers, although you have seen it from a few receivers. Specifically, Ohio State is known for that. JSN is not a huge personality. Chris Olave is one of the quietest guys you'll ever hear. And so Marvin Harrison was quiet, and I think that was probably part of the reason he didn't get off to a good start. Also, Kyler Murray at one point throughout the season said, sometimes the ball goes to him, but that's not my job. So part of it was clearly a chemistry issue between Kyler and Marvin. I mean, this guy was drafted for Kyler Murray and not the other way around, and yet Kyler is saying it's not even my job to get him the football. That's just not the way it needs to be played. So hopefully that's something we can see them improve on this season. A few offseason losses. They lost Will Henderson, who started at guard for them a ton last season, and then a big loss for me, and that's kind of the hole on their defense now, is they lost Kazir White to free agency. He was their middle linebacker for a few years last season. A few years. He
cool.
Was lost in this offseason. He was there this last season. Their linebacking crew is not great, but their defensive line and specifically their secondary has got a lot of playmakers, so they hope to make up for that. I wonder if that's going to be an issue stopping the run game, and that's something that the teams in their division specifically rely on. Seattle is going to be a team that's going to run the ball a ton, I expect, with Sam Darnold. San Francisco is obviously one of the best running teams of all time, given Kyle Shanahan and that zone scheme. And then the Rams will even rely on it a good amount with Kyron Williams. So I'm curious if Arizona is going to be a team that's going to be able to stop the run because of their lack of depth and really talent. That is their spot where they don't have a lot of talent, is in the linebacking crew. And that is the players that make all the tackles. Those are the players that lead your team in tackles. Excuse me. Your defensive line is the team that kind of holds up the offensive lineman, and then your linebackers are supposed to hit the gaps and get the tackles. So I'm curious to see how that looks. Offensive line is not a huge improvement. Paris Johnson Jr. Is a franchise left tackle, and he played like that last season. But outside of that, really Jonah Williams and their center, who I will not pronounce his name because it's hard to pronounce, played well as well last year. But their guards are not great. Kyler is still going to be a quarterback that's going to have to scramble a good amount, but, I mean, he's shown that the past few seasons. He's had gems. You think about that 2-point conversion he had where he was running around for literally like 35 seconds last year. He is still very capable of doing that even after the injuries. He is.
Was it who was it that he had the Hail Mary to D-Hop with?
That was during the COVID season against the Bills.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was the COVID season. But Kyler is still going to have to be a quarterback that's going to have to do that a little bit. But I think in large part this is a team that has addressed a lot of needs, and they've added talent to a lot of positions. It's now just going to be a question of, will it click? Can Jonathan Gannon take them to a next step after a poor first season and then an 8-9 last season? Getting into their schedule.
I want to add something just really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
It came out that we were talking about just their additions on the D-line, especially. Walter Nolan did sustain a calf injury, and so his status to start the season's up in the air. He's on the physically unable to perform list right now, but just talking about trying to infuse the team with talent, you know, he's a key piece, and they really need him to get healthy and play well, and that's not the best start for that.
I
Yeah,
wonder
absolutely.
if they will be hesitant to not hesitant, but be very slow and cautious with that injury with the increase in Achilles injuries. Okay, I know it's the NBA, but it's just weird that like we're seeing this rise of calf injuries lead to Achilles injuries, and we've even seen, I mean, Achilles injuries in football players. We saw Cousins tear his Achilles a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. So Rodgers tear his Achilles. So I'll be interested to see with
J.K. Dobbins.
yeah, is there more research and more data coming out that these, light calf injuries are leading to more severe injuries when rushed back? I'll be interested to see when he comes back and what kind of workload he has when he comes back.
Yeah, they're
Sure.
going to want him to play, and he was drafted in mind to be a play now player.
Right.
This is not a development piece for Arizona whatsoever. But getting into their schedule this year, they will open in the Superdome. They're favored right now by 5.5 against the New Orleans Saints, and that'll be a pivotal, opening to their season, a pivotal opening for the Saints season as well. This year they'll play the NFC South. They will also play the AFC South, so two of the worst divisions in football, which really helps from a scheduling perspective. Although you guys are not very high in the Arizona Cardinals, so I'll pivot to y'all before I come back to me. Where do you guys see your kind of doubts with Arizona and the schedule this season? Sanders, you have them going 6-11.
Yeah. So I think part of that is they do play the AFC South, but they still have to play the Texans, and they have to go to Indianapolis, so we'll see how that goes. I probably think of Kyler Murray as like a average NFL quarterback. I've got him probably in that, like, sitting around 16 through 18, 19 as far as quarterbacks go. And I'm not the highest on him, and maybe that that could be fixed with a good season another good season from him. But yeah, I just am not the highest on them. And then as far as the defense goes, like you said, the linebacker core is not as talented, and then the defensive line is either young or new, so it's a bunch of new pieces they brought in, which should be improvements, but that all has to click for it to work out and for them to win. So that's why I've kind of got them lower. And we talked at the beginning of the show, one of those things where I feel like doing my picks for other teams, I was like, yeah, the Cardinals that's a win for the other team, that's a win. And then I kind of got here and I was like, I had them going, I think 4-13, and I had to go in and fix some things because I was like, this is better. They're better than 4 wins.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been going 7-10. Guess kind of for similar reasons to Sanders. It's more of I do legitimately think they had a great offseason, but I kind of have to see it to believe it. And given the division they're in, that also makes it tougher for me to just be like, oh yeah, they're going to turn it around and have a winning season. But they were a team I struggled with a lot picking this. I was like, I texted you all, I was like, Arizona Cardinals winning the division. It's a team that I legitimately think could be a massive swing team, kind of one way or the other. And I just decided to have them kind of take a small step back, even if they are probably a better team than they were last year.
Yeah, I view them as one of those teams who can reach the postseason that didn't last year. Every single year, on average, 6 new teams make the playoffs that did not make it the season before, and I see Arizona as one of those teams that can do that. I had them going 8-9 and missing the postseason, though, and it's in large part due that they drew the short end of the stick in a few of their third-place weaker games. Those third-place weaker games are third-place Green Bay, who made the postseason last year, third-place Cincinnati, who barely missed the postseason last year, and the third one is third-place Dallas, who gets Dak Prescott back this year. So
Tough spot to be.
I have them losing all 3 of those games, and that's the difference in them making the postseason or not with me. So that for me, they drew the short end of the stick there, while their schedule is really weak from a division aspect, playing both South divisions. That's really going to be the difference in them making the postseason. But I see this as a team that could very easily make the postseason, given the schedule. I don't see them as the worst team of the division. You guys do, I assume.
Yeah.
Maybe tied with me for worse than the division.
I just don't see that. I think they're better than Seattle, who I assume is who you guys have down there at the 4th, and we'll get into them here in a few minutes. But Kyler, I think the only thing on Kyler is I don't necessarily see him as a quarterback that's going to carry his team into some victories. While he can make elite plays here and there, I think a few things have to go right for him to be in those kinds of spots. And then while they added talent to a lot of places, I don't necessarily yet see that talent being like difference makers. Marvin Harrison is a elite wide receiver, maybe in a few years. We're not sure if he's that this year. Will Johnson, who fell in the draft, is like, well, he could be really good this year, but he's, again, a rookie. Walter Nolan.
And there's a reason he fell in the draft, too, right?
Agreed as well. Walter Nolan is dealing with injury issues already in training camp. Josh Sweat is another year older. Same with Dalvin Tomlinson and Calais Campbell as well, who's the oldest player in the league. So I think a lot of talent there, but it's a lot of B- to C+ kind of talent. Not a lot of A's or A- out there. And so I think that's going to be the difference, and especially like these divisional games and these go either way games. Like, do you have a player that can go out there and make a play for you? You know, they're not dynamic at running back necessarily with James Conner and Trey Benson. They're dynamic at tight end and receiver, sure, but Kyler's got to get them the ball, and that's kind of been an issue throughout his career, as evidenced with Marvin Harrison last year, relying a ton on Trey McBride. But again, Trey McBride had his touchdown issues. He was not a tight end he was in the end zone, I believe, once last year.
Yeah.
And for the receiving numbers that he put up, it's a huge question mark there. So we would not be surprised if they make the playoffs this year, but it also feels like they're just not quite there yet. And you can't confidently go into these games and say, oh, they are better than the other team, or that they have a chance to make a play here or there that could swing those kind of games. And those are games against like Dallas, who maybe they're there on the same talent perspective, but Dallas has CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons that can win those kind of games. You think about Tampa Bay, like Tampa Bay has Baker in that passing offense who can just light you up for 400 yards. San Francisco, they have Christian McCaffrey and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. You know, in division with the Rams, they have Stafford, who's won a Super Bowl, and they have Puka Nacua, who can just destroy you, who we'll get into later on. Cincinnati, they have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow. So Cardinals fans, if you feel like that's a little bit low, there's a lot of reason to have hope for this season, but do you have the players yet that are the playmakers that can swing those kind of games where you're there on a talent perspective, but you can't make the plays to win the game? So I have them going 8-9, Sanders at 6-11, and Jack at 7-10. That kind of closes out our Cardinals. Go ahead.
I mean, decent. I was going to say that's kind of decently close to some of the other. I feel like that's, as far as it goes, that's on the closer end.
They feel like a team, like with the schedule, it feels impossible for them to be a 4-win team like you had them at one point.
Yeah.
Which I think is a large part the reason you changed those.
It was
those
a good
games.
call to change.
Yeah. I did not want to get I was not going to go through that today.
I think a huge thing, and I'm going to mention it probably through all four of these teams as well, is like the NFC West is kind of shafted in the fact that they are all on the West Coast. And when you have to play, in this case, you're playing the AFC South and the NFC South, that's flying across the country for multiple games. In fact, at least 4 every season. And those games are hard to do. The Rams have a few games where they have noon kickoffs. Like, they're at Cleveland for a noon kickoff. And the Cardinals are no different there as well. So they kind of get shafted there. Like, yeah, you're playing a easy schedule, but you also have to play the Saints at noon kickoff to start your season, which is 9 a.m. for you. So
yeah,
they're kind of shafted there. But that kind of closes it for our Cardinals predictions as a group, with the game-by-game predictions that has the Cardinals going 6-11. And maybe in the future this needs to be reworked, because the group predictions coming together can have some weird
They can be a little
scenarios.
fickle.
Like, we have the Giants at 1-16 and the Bills at 16-1.
yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily reflect how we actually feel as a group.
I feel like we
even.
really just need to honestly average out our record.
I think I'll do that for the NFL full ones.
Yeah.
We'll look at those and we'll decide which
I don't
one
know.
we want to pick.
I kind of like it.
But I do think it's kind of funny.
It is
though.
funny, yeah.
I mean, if 2 out of 3 of us think that the Bills are gonna win a game,
I mean, yeah, and then look at like the NFC North predictions where we have all
No.
4 teams are either 8-9 or 9-8.
yeah,
So it's like
It's pretty awesome. That would be what a division.
It's pretty funny. Arizona goes 6-11. Although 6-11 was the worst record we have out of the three. We had two better records than that, but they go 6-11 in our group predictions, and that kind of closes it out for the Arizona Cardinals. Any final thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals? Do you like the new uniforms that they introduced? I think it's been 2 years, but do you like them? Do you like the black uniforms?
I think so, yeah. If I'm remembering what you're talking about correctly, I think I don't mind them.
I'm not the biggest fan. The black's fine. I think I prefer their old uniforms, though.
Yeah, I do as well.
Final thoughts.
I mean, I was also the kid that playing in Madden. Me and my brothers, like, we turned on like the most bright, like, color rush stuff we could.
Sure.
Like a fan favorite was the Seahawks neon.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big favorite of ours. So I love a good like all one color uniform.
Yeah, I've seen Marvin Harrison perform well. I traded for him in a dynasty league to pair him up with Malik Neighbors.
I drafted him in Dynasty League.
so
What
if-
did you give up for him?
I think I gave up a running back,
Interesting.
or maybe I gave up a wide receiver.
Was it?
I think I gave up James Conner.
You got,
and then some, I'm sure. But like I think I gave up James
was
Conner
this later
and
in
maybe
the
another wide
season
receiver.
after it was kind of?
Yeah. It was
Okay.
like Marvin Harrison wasn't having the best season, and Morton's Molecules was looking to make a win now move.
Oh, Morton.
And
Why
so-
would you trade Marvin Harrison?
I have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors, and I'm looking.
Was he
for
like
that
in
to
the
be-
playoffs? Was he like trying?
I think
to,
he was
like,
fighting for a playoff
So he
spot.
was trying to get. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
I was in the same spot, kind of, but I never got the trade to happen. I was trying to convince, in the league that I won, I was trying to convince my buddies, like, through the first 3 weeks, specifically the guy who had him, give me Marvin Harrison because he sucks. Look at his numbers. And I was thinking, oh, he'll pop off later. He never did, so thankfully I never made that trade, and he
Sure.
regrets. He took Marvin Harrison in the, like, top 5 picks of the second round. So,
I think Jackson had the
in a,
But
10,
was
in
it
a
a-
10-team league.
Was it a keeper league or not?
Not a keeper
Oh,
league.
okay,
So it was
okay,
a
okay.
top 15 pick
Yeah.
on Marvin Harrison.
That's
That's the difference. I was not a good team last year, so I was like, I'm making this trade
Yeah.
for the future.
And in a keeper league, it makes sense to like if that had been a keeper league, it would have made sense for your friend to hold on to him. But in a 10-team like redraft, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
He ended up losing, even though he was the number 1 overall seed.
Unlucky.
So suck it.
That is tough. All right, Los Angeles Rams are up next, right?
Yes, I have them out of order in here. Let me flip that.
Yeah.
We good? We good?
There's and then you have that out of order too. That goes the 49ers go before the Seahawks because A comes before E.
It got all jacked up, and so now everyone's everywhere.
It's all right.
And the whole thing. So
We all know the alphabet. We'll make it work. You want to start the 49 or the Rams, not the 49ers. You want to start the Rams for us?
Yeah.
I also had to do a double check to be sure I spell it. I always spell Los Angeles wrong because I get in Los.
Anja.
No. I spell it
Anja.
LAS. Like sometimes because Las Vegas is LAS,
Okay.
and so it's Los Angeles, they're said the same, and so sometimes I forget. So I always double check. now.
Los Angeles.
I'm, as our graphics guy, I don't want to get in trouble for spelling Giants, Gaints again.
You really just can't win because you do it all. You're the graphics guy, the sound guy, the tech guy.
I do basically everything, which is why every time JP calls for me to get fired, I'm like, well, I do everything. So there's a lot more opportunity for me to mess up than you.
I'm just saying, me and
Gary?
JP don't typically mess up like that.
True.
Are we in the positions to? No. Did I forget to plug it in one time? Yes, but that was one time.
Yeah, literally. You
That's one strike though.
Yeah, but if you think about what's your batting average though? That's what you got to think about batting average. At.
Okay, but I set up the podcast,
it can't be any
the
worse.
tripod. I do that almost every week.
I'm batting like 900. You're batting like 660.
I'm batting over 900. I plug it in almost every week, and I set up the camera.
Yeah, but then I go over there and fix the camera.
You go attach the actual phone, but I still set it up.
I think I'm batting probably like 900. With all the thumbnails and video titles and.
JP's batting 1,000. So if we count
Yeah.
the 2 shows he did
Or-
alone,
But he didn't technically even post those to Spotify.
he didn't have the ability to do so. I don't feel like that's
And he made he didn't make the thumbnails or the titles.
I didn't have that software available to me. We do.
Yeah,
we don't-
you.
We'll send that to pending review if that's like a hit, an error,
Yeah,
a walk.
We'll get the MLB.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll need a rules adjustment there.
Cool.
A score adjustment. Yeah, start the Rams. Get them going.
The Los Angeles Rams had a bottom half offense and defense last season, and yet found themselves inside the 10-yard line with a chance to upset the eventual Super Bowl champs. The season was a great success given the talent on the team, and following the retirement of Aaron Donald, the Rams went 10-7 for the second year in a row, this time winning the division and defeating the Vikings in a wild card round game that was full of emotion, played in Arizona because of the California wildfires. The Rams had a stellar season from Defensive Rookie of the Year Jared Verse, who went for 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 18 quarterback hits, which led the team. The Rams reloaded in the offseason, moving off Cooper Kupp and Demarcus Robinson and bringing in Devontae Adams and Terrence Ferguson, the rookie tight end out of Oregon. The Rams were also part of the Falcons' trade up to select Jared Verse. Los Angeles now has 2 first-round picks next year, giving them a better chance.
Falcons also traded up to get James Pierce.
James Pierce, not Jared Verse. Very similar names. I messed that up. Whoops.
You're good.
Right. Giving them a better chance to select a quarterback in next year's draft. Now, Matthew Stafford, cue graphic, last season was solid, 3,700 passing yards at a 93.7 pass rating. Touchdowns way down, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but in large part it was due to the health of his weapons, who, cue graphic, had a good year, especially Tutu Atwell and Demarcus Robinson in games without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Go ahead and look at Puka Nacua. This is through 11 games, 990 receiving yards. He was on a all-time pace, and he unfortunately had injuries that held him back throughout the season. He was nearly a 1,000-yard receiver through 12 games, which would be a college football season right there. Puka Nacua was elite. Cooper Kupp, they moved on from, even though he had a pretty decent season at 710 yards and 67 receptions. They bring in Devontae Adams from the Jets, but I more specifically want to talk about Matthew Stafford. Throw his graphic up there. Again, 3,700 passing yards, 20-8 touchdown interception ratio. My first question to y'all is, given that they traded now for a first-round pick next year and they have 2 next year, do you see this as Stafford's final year as the first sure quarterback 1 in Los Angeles? Do you see it as a year where he'll have another year of elite play, and specifically not from a statistical perspective, but from leading the team when the weapons aren't there, winning games they're not really supposed to? What do you guys see from Matthew Stafford this year, and then do you expect them to draft a quarterback next year?
I don't expect them to draft a quarterback next year.
He's under contract. Just for context, he's under contract for the next 2 seasons at $42 million a year, both guaranteed.
Or if they do draft a quarterback next year, it'll be under the knowledge that he's not really in play to be QB1 next year. They're just gonna draft and sit him a year.
Yeah.
I think the ball's in Matthew Stafford's court to just have a good season and quiet any questions about that. And I personally expect him to have a good season. I think Devontae Adams is an upgrade over Cooper Kupp at this point in their careers. Puka Nacua was fantastic, like you talked about, and the secondary weapons around the fringes are good as well. And in my opinion, he's still plenty good enough to facilitate an offense with good weapons and put up really good stats and win games. So
yeah, I think that I 100% agree. I do not think, especially because you said it's the Falcons.
I don't think any of those are going to be top 5 picks.
Right, exactly. So they're not even. They're probably.
They could easily be top 15.
They're both probably going to be sitting in that 16 to 24 range.
If they have a guy they like, and I do feel like they're good at drafting and developing, so if they have a guy they like in that range, they may take him and sit him.
I think it's a lot more likely that they get QB 6 to 8, or this is just, it's so hard to know because we don't know what the QB draft class is going to look like, but there are 6 QBs, I've talked about this, that I think could have very good seasons and then turn around and be top 5 picks. There's 6 quarterbacks that I think are in play to earn that. And so I could see them getting QB5, QB6 and not trade up, and then that guy would definitely be a sit for a year, especially because $40 million as far as, it's not rookie money, but also as far as quarterback play goes, and if Matthew Stafford has a very good season this year, $40 million is not that expensive because you've got guys who are making 60.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely not cheap by any means, but it might be. And also the Rams have a good roster, in my opinion. They've gotten very fortunate with some of their draft picks in guys like Puka Nacua and Jared Verse.
Make your own luck.
Yeah, Verse was a first-round pick, but it's guys, and then Kyron Williams has turned out to be a very good running back for them. So they have been very fortunate in their draft analysis and their scouting and the guys they brought in. So it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for them to kind of blow it up in a year and start a rookie quarterback.
I don't expect them to.
I think Stafford has got 2 years left.
He's definitely got 2 years left.
Unless we see unless something happens.
Balls in his court. Balls in his court. Just play well.
Unless we see a huge regression this year, I think.
How old is he?
37.
I was going to say probably 30. I can check it.
He signed an extension in May of this year, which got him next year's $42 million guaranteed and kept him basically guaranteed to be on the team through the next 2 years. So I don't expect. For me, the route would be, given now that you have 2 first-round picks, you're allowed to take a quarterback next year and sit him for a year, which I'd prefer to do with really any quarterback coming out of the draft, unless it is an elite talent. But even the elite talents, I mean, you think of like Trevor Lawrence, terrible first year, whether you would think that was Urban Meyer or not, he still wasn't good.
I forgot Urban Meyer.
From a
was
production
there.
standpoint. Caleb Williams was not good last year, and whether you think that's Matt Eberflus or not, there is argument there on either side. But even with the top elite quarterbacks, the can't-miss prospects, Bryce Young wasn't a can't-miss prospect.
I was just thinking like first overall pick.
First overall pick. I don't think Rams would select a quarterback next year and start him. Matthew Stafford, I think, is the quarterback for the next 2 years. But they're in a great spot where they can select a quarterback next year or even trade up for a quarterback next year if they wanted to get one of the top 5 guys and sit him for a year. They're in a great spot there. Defensively, they have a lot of weapons there, and it's a lot of weapons of not necessarily household names, but they had really productive seasons for the Rams last year. And while they were a bottom half defense in the league, they had good production from guys like Braden Fisk and Kobe Turner, who both had 8 sacks or more. Byron Young out of Texans was really good last year. Jared Verse didn't pop off from a numbers perspective, but the big thing for him was the quarterback hits, which he had 18 of. Now, they did lose Roseboom, who is their leading tackler last season with 135 tackles. He went off to the Carolina Panthers, and really they made no additions both in free agency and the draft to address that loss. And specifically, they did not take a single linebacker to fill that hole. So they're going to rely specifically on their front 7, more specifically their front 4, and then they're going to rely a ton on their safeties.
What happened to John Johnson? Is he hurt?
John Johnson is technically a free agent right now.
Okay.
He's a loss as well. But they're going to rely specifically on Cameron Curl and then their other safety. Okay. Cameron Curl. Who's their other starting safety? That's
It's Cam Curl and Cameron Kinchins.
Okay,
So
they're going to rely on those guys to tackle a bunch. Cameron Curl, Cam Curl, whatever it is.
You're there. It's Cam Curl.
Yeah, it's Cam.
I have it as Cameron Curl.
I'm sure his name is Cameron.
He was one of their leading tacklers last season. They're going to rely on him to be a tackler, specifically in the run game.
Miss him.
I think they're going to, for them, it's can they get to the top half of the league in offense and defense, and that can be really the difference in whether or not they have a good season. And while you have productive guys like Kobe Turner, who was on The Masked Singer last year and then popped off his head, and the judges had to act like they knew who Kobe Turner was, even though he did have 8 sacks last year.
Did he have a good voice?
He had a good voice, yes, a very good voice. And then, what's his name? Ken had to react like he knew who Kobe Turner was.
Senior Chang from Community,
doctor.
He is a doctor.
He is a doctor.
Went to Duke. My freshman year,
he's a doctor. You didn't know that?
Biomedical engineering class. Our professor went to Duke and roomed with him, and there's a picture of him at Coach K's last game, sitting next to Dr. Ken. And he also was phenomenal on College Game Day. He's been one of the better guests in the past couple of years. Very funny guy. But yeah,
I'm very curious. Throw up their receivers graphic again. I know I made you flip it one more time,
good?
But I'm curious, and I'm going to ask y'all: do you think Devontae Adams is a upgrade to Cooper Kupp, and do you expect this to be? I mean, is this one of the most elite receiver rooms in the NFL because of that? Are they up there with a Bengals receiving group of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Puka Nacua almost had 1,000 yards through 11 games, so there's some argument there. Nakua's a top 5 pick, ADP right now. Cooper Kupp is a top. He's in the Seahawks one, but he was a top 70 coming up for this season, and then as well with Devontae Adams, he's a top 40 pick as well. Do you see this as an elite group? Is Devontae Adams an upgrade or a downgrade?
I think it's going to be about the same. And I don't think that they are. I mean, there's they're probably in the top 5, but I still think that Bengals wide receiver room is just so good. It's better. But Devontae Adams, I don't think he's an upgrade. I feel like that's a little disrespectful to Cooper Kupp. I mean, Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown 3 years ago.
That's a long time in football years.
Yeah, but he had a good season the year after that, and then last year he was hurt. So I'm not going to start dogging on Cooper Kupp yet. I still think that he was a very good wide receiver and will be good. He's at the Seahawks now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect him to be productive there this year.
Back home.
So I would not label Devontae Adams as a straight up 1-for-1 upgrade.
I'll go and be disrespectful then, and I think Devontae Adams is an upgrade.
I as well.
Okay.
I think it'll be an upgrade production-wise, like when they're on the field, but also I trust him to stay healthy way more than I trust Cooper Kupp to stay healthy. And considering that's been a huge issue for the Rams these past couple years, I would much rather have Devontae Adams for that reason. Because I know Devontae Adams has had some injury issues as well, but I still trust him to stay on the field more than Cooper Kupp.
I thought the Rams have had like historically good injury luck.
They have.
That's what I
they
thought.
were not lucky last year.
Well, I feel like Cooper Kupp maybe is just then a guy that's always hurt, and
He has
for one of your
He's
top
had
receivers to
issues
be
as
rough.
well, besides his Triple Crown year.
Sure.
I think it's a upgrade because of the scheme, not specifically because Devontae Adams is necessarily way better than Cooper Kupp. But you think of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, those are slot receivers, get open in tiny spaces, make contested catches in space. Devontae Adams is a receiver you can throw out there in the X and play on the outside, while you can put Nacua now inside in the slot. And now you have the threat of over-the-top jump ball to Devontae Adams, and then the intermediate stuff with Puka Nacua.
That's fair.
And I think that's going to help them a ton. As well, like Devontae Adams, because of his size and his strength, is going to be elite over the middle of the field as well. And that gives Matthew Stafford that ability to throw the ball over the middle of the field. Cooper Kupp was really not that. He was more of a dink and dunk kind of guy, and then he would get open on the outside. And then with the other with Tutu Atwell, like he's never going to be your physical receiver on the interior as well. So Devontae Adams, I think, is just an upgrade from a scheme perspective, allowing them to kind of create more dynamic packages. And Sean McVay, I think, is going to have a really fun time with Devontae Adams. Although, of course, he loves Cooper Kupp. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see. Tyler Higbee is supposed to return. He only played 3 games last year. Another year where it was in large part because of the ACL tear in the divisional round, in the wildcard round, against the Detroit Lions, where he took that hit into his knee on that tough catch and tore his ACL, and he missed pretty much all of last season, played in only 3 games at the end of the year. But he returns and is expected to be fully healthy for them. And he was a huge weapon for Stafford before his injury. And I think that's going to help that group as well. Kyron Williams, of course, is still back. I'm really curious to see how it goes for the Rams this year. I have them winning the division personally. Sanders, I saw you looking over there at Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah, I do not think he would be making much of an impact on that defense this year.
I would not expect it either.
Good draft pick for my Commanders, man.
You win some, you lose some. He was drafted
nice.
too high, so he never got the chance. But he also did play well, so that didn't help either.
He's just too small.
Yeah, he is.
It did feel like he was partially just a guy who just had a knack for being in the right place at the right time, and so that just didn't translate to the NFL for whatever reason. Although Hail State always. The Rams, into their schedule here, they will play 5 national televised games. They play what is essentially a road game, and I've put it down as a road game because it is. They're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in London this season, a team that has played in London each of, I think, the last 4 years since the COVID season. And they even played in London a ton prior to that as well. They've got some big Thursday night football games in division, hosting the San Francisco 49ers, and they go to Seattle late in the season. And then they'll play on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, hosting Tampa Bay and going to Atlanta late in the season. So Rams are going to be in prime time a good amount, 5 of them specifically. And then they open the season hosting Houston, which I know I said it in the last episode, but I am excited. This is going to be, if I have a quad box, of course. When I watched NFL last season, I had a quad box, Saints game on a solo TV, and then usually we had another TV, and that was just another game more often than not, it was just whatever the local game was. But Houston and Los Angeles will be in my quad box. You can go ahead and guarantee it, along
Sounds
with
good.
Miami and the Colts. And then who did I say last?
I don't
In
remember.
the last episode.
I
It was
don't-
one of the AFC East teams. So
Yeah, I can't remember.
it was Jets Steelers.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that'll be in my
Revenge,
quad
yeah.
box.
I feel like Jet Steelers with the Aaron Rodgers return has to be. Well, hopefully we get some staggered start times so we can get one or two of those on a isolated TV.
Yeah, can you pull up the week 1 schedule and we can build our quad box here in a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll do it in between teams.
The Rams open the season hosting Houston, and then they'll go on a 2-week road trip to Tennessee and Philly. We see them as a team that's potentially could win the division. I have them winning the division with the same record as the 49ers, but they win the tiebreak there. Where do you guys see the Rams finishing out the season? And I have them 11-6. How about y'all?
Yeah, I also have them 11-6, and I also have them tied for winning the division. I actually don't know who has the tiebreaker for me.
I can do it for you.
But I don't.
Do you have them splitting with the 49ers? Or who do you have tied? Who do you have them tied with?
They'd be
He
tied
has
with
them
49ers.
losing to the Rams twice, so the Rams won the division.
Okay, so there you go. They're my division winners as well. I agree with that in the sense of I think they're the best team in the division. I like the talent they have. For them to do what they did last year with the injury issues, and to hopefully get those guys back healthy, I expect good things from them, big things from them.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I've got them losing the division by I think probably 2 games. I think I've got the 49ers going 12-5, or did I change 11-6? So but by 1 game, so it's close. They've got the best quarterback in the division. They've got the best wide receiver core in the division. But it's just I think we'll see. They definitely could win it, and it'll be close. And I might be a little bit higher on the 49ers than I should be. But I think it will come down to can they kind of maintain that injury luck they've had the past couple of years. That training staff has done a really good job there because, I mean, they bring in Adams, and he had injuries last year, right? So he got hurt last year.
play for the Jets, you're gonna have some injuries, man.
True. It's that turf.
He was also hurt when he was a Raider, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a Raider. Was he a Raider?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he went back and played with Derek Carr.
Yes, he was hurt while he was a Raider. Yes.
Played with his Fresno State guy.
But he was in the process of getting traded, so.
Yep.
And then kind of wasn't hurt, after getting traded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shout out to him.
All right. San Francisco 49ers. Do we want to build our quad box real quick? Do you want to do that now?
Yeah.
Hail
break.
State's Finn.
Final thing on the Rams. As a group, we have them going 12-5. I need to look and see who won the tiebreaker there as well. We have them beating San Francisco twice, so they won the division as a group as well.
Good
at
stuff.
12-5. And that will have them winning the NFC West. That also has them as the 2nd seed in the NFC because our NFC North and our NFC South are division winners at 9-8. So the Rams are the 2nd seed in the NFC West currently for the Technical Foul predictions.
Shout out to him.
So shout out to the Rams. We look forward to seeing good things. And I might go to that game. That Monday Night Football game in Atlanta seems intriguing. I'm already doing one in Atlanta on Monday Night Football. But I'll be home because that'll be basically Christmas time. So I might go to that game.
That'd be fun.
pretty cool.
That would be sick.
Sven said Forbes was bad at Washington his first season. I think he was bad both years there because he's been there for.
I mean, I think for the first year is really the only year he got any sort of run. And
Yeah.
So
He got traded halfway or part of the way through his 2nd year. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly when it was, but
Forbes was bad.
yeah, it was tough. He's been in the league for 2 years, which it feels like it's been so much longer than that.
If we made a good pick there, man, that could have been game changing.
Yeah, he played weeks 1 through. I mean, he started week 1.
I'm pretty sure we could have Christian Gonzalez on our team, bro.
True.
Did Gonzalez get drafted after him?
Almost positive, yeah.
That is tough.
Wouldn't that be game changing for our
That
roster,
is
man?
so
Very.
tough, especially given that like cornerback is like a need for y'all now. One spot.
Oh
later.
my gosh, bro. He was
One
drafted right
spot
after
later.
Forbes.
That
And I knew too, like at the time I was like I would have preferred Christian Gonzalez, and in hindsight it only looked so much worse.
Yeah, that y'all kind of cooked yourselves there.
He has 25 pounds on Forbes, man.
Yeah, he's the same height, I think.
I didn't shorter.
No,
No, same height, same height. That hurts. I'm happy. We'll move on. Go Commanders.
He's younger too.
It's fine.
All right, let us build our quad
Yeah.
box.
What do you? All right, so let's see. Sunday at the noon games, we've got Buccaneers, Falcons, Dolphins, Colts. So that's got to be. That's
confirmed.
That's a solo TV, right? Or is that gonna be the quad box?
That's in the quad box. It's not a solo.
Saints, Cardinals will be on the TV. Steelers, Jets, and Dolphins, Colts are both at noon. That sucks.
Okay, so those are two
They're in the quad
games in
box.
our noon quad box.
Yeah,
And what the Cardinals Saints is at noon?
Yeah.
Okay, that's on a solo TV.
yeah. You've also got Buccaneers, Falcons, Bengals, Browns,
Don't care.
Raiders, Patriots. I mean, you're a Geno guy. You have to watch that game.
It's in New England.
Yeah.
That might be on the quad box. That's our best candidate right now.
Giants, Commanders, Panthers, Jags.
That'll probably be on its own TV.
And that's all the Giants, Commanders will.
Well, that actually might make the quad box.
I mean, as a
Yeah, I mean, if
Commanders fan,
we'll have to watch it for Jack.
So I
Oh.
think it'd be Raiders, Patriots, and then the Commanders, Giants game. That's your 4.
Okay,
sure.
and then at 3:05, you've got. I mean,
Just have the 4 games.
yeah, there's only 4 games.
Yeah,
so,
because there's a Thursday night football game.
Yeah.
and a
Sunday
Friday
night.
game.
Sunday's the only
Friday.
spot when
Friday
you
game.
only
And
really have
Monday
to
night.
build
Yeah,
it. is the
Sunday at
noon.
noon is the only prime time.
You gotta get
time
crafty.
Problem.
What are the 4 games at 3?
There are some good games. Titans Broncos, which it's in
Fantastic
Denver,
game,
so
man.
that's going to be 49ers Seahawks could be really good. Lions Packers could be
that'll be on Fox.
yeah, that is it's actually on
With
CBS.
It's wow.
49ers Seahawks.
That's
are the
crazy.
Fox
That'll
game.
be Jim Nance, Tony Romo.
Yeah. And then Texans Rams, which could be another good game. I mean, that's
Okay, that was a candidate for the quad box, but now it's just in the quad box.
Yeah,
But
it's a shoe-in for the
yeah,
quad
it's
box.
locked in. It's locked in. And then Ravens Bills Sunday Night Football, Vikings Bears Monday Night Football.
That's when Caleb Williams
A big
puts the
game.
world on notice.
JJ McCarthy versus Caleb.
Yeah, true. But it's still just like, I mean, that's Big Ten rivals right there.
Yep.
USC and Michigan.
Yeah, they definitely played each other in college. It's Big Ten rivals.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who is?
I'm finishing. So our seeding for the NFC is locked. We have the Washington Commanders as the number 1 overall seed, followed by 2 seed Los Angeles Rams, 3 seed Detroit Lions at 9 and 8, the 4 seed
we had the Lions going 9-8.
in winning the division.
Because he had them getting
That is
6 wins.
Criminal. That is criminal.
The Lions 3 seed at 9 and 8, the Buccaneers 4 seed at 9 and 8, then the 5 seed at 13 and 4. Which, if this were to happen, that might enforce that rule at some point. Eagles at 13.
I hope they
and
don't make that
4
rule. I don't
as a
like that
5 seed, 6 seed 49ers, and Sanders. You got to guess who the 7 seed is.
He should have this, honestly.
rule. NFC.
If you can
team.
just think
is it
back.
The Cowboys.
Yeah,
It is
Let's go.
the Cowboys.
because they also won double-digit
are
games.
the 7 seed in the NFC East.
NFC East is the only division we have winning double-digit games, I believe, or 3 teams winning double-digit games.
Correct.
Will that change Wednesday?
Oh, that will be interesting.
Time will tell.
Yeah. Sven said Scadaboo and Abdul Carter versus JD5 will be fun. Sven is very high on Cam Scadaboo. Like, very high. I was talking to him in our comments on our Giants video, and he was telling us we just don't understand how good Scadaboo is going to be.
Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah. We'll see.
No.
What?
That's just in bad spirit. So
Yeah, don't be nice, Jack.
I wasn't. I mean, it was not mean to spin. Spin. Sorry, spin the Brawl Stars YouTuber.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
it mixed up.
Yeah, two very different people.
Sven. Yeah, I think Cam Scadaboo is gonna struggle to stay healthy. I'll just leave it vague.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
ACL
a
watch?
prediction. ACL watch?
Not ACL.
Shoulder watch? Dislocated shoulder watch?
North of the shoulders.
Oh, okay. Concussion watch.
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
fair. That's fair.
Throw it on the list.
We do not have.
Cam Scadabo is on concussion watch.
We do not have a list.
That's not even that bad of a take.
No, it's very legitimate. Did he make it through all of last season without an injury? like he did.
I doubt it. No way.
But he was a Heisman finalist.
He
played
played
every
banged
game,
up,
but it was like
but
it
yeah,
was
he
like Woody Marks when he played
Yeah.
for us. Like he probably got hurt in every single game and then he just came back,
Yeah, that's fair.
or he just dealing with a ton of injuries. You can't
Sure.
tell me that him in the Texas game didn't have some kind of injury.
Yeah,
I think he
No,
just
he was
plays
playing
with a red
elite.
mist in his eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
So he doesn't know what's going on.
yeah,
But he performs, at least at the college level.
yeah. Sven said Scadaboo threw a 40-yard laser downfield. can play tight end, wide receiver, and running back. He's the ultimate weapon.
Interesting.
I mean, he can catch some passes, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Was not one of my highest running backs in the class last year, and has to play in an unfortunate situation
Yeah.
behind a shaky O-line. So
In the best division in football.
yeah, do we want to move on?
Yeah,
to
let's
the
move
49ers.
on.
We've
Yeah.
waffled enough.
We can
Dude.
talk.
Oh, sorry, I forgot he was doing something. But
Oh, yeah,
I'm good.
I'm trying to figure out Jack's or seeding for all these now that predictions are in for the entire thing. So that would have them as the 4.
Sven, I do agree that without Scatterboo, Arizona State would have been 7-5 at best. Actually, I don't necessarily agree because Sam Leavitt was a very good quarterback, kind of came out of nowhere last year, and his number one wide receiver, who was hurt for the playoffs, I don't remember his name, they were a very good duo last year. So I don't know that 7-5 is at best, and Kenny Dillingham was a good head coach and has continued to kind of develop that roster. But also, now Scatterboo plays in the NFL, and his method was just hit guys hard and don't fall over. But now every dude you run into is one of the 30 best players at their position or whatever. Like,
Yeah, you don't run in any Emmanuel Forbes anymore because they don't stick on the field.
And you're not
at the NFL
playing
level.
a Mississippi State D line where the average weight is like 260. Like now your defensive line, the average weight is like 360. So it's very different. It's a whole different ball game. I like this. We talk halfway through the season. I believe in his skill and will. Scatterboo's, yeah, we'll bring this.
We'll see
back
who's
up.
right. We'll see who's right.
You may very well be right, and we say enough stuff that we're definitely gonna be wrong about some things. I don't think we're gonna be wrong about Scatterboo.
Oh.
What did you? How many wins did you have them getting, Sven? Was it like
9 and 8,
wins?
I think.
Did you have them going 9 and 8?
That's not good.
I mean, what did Scatterboo do against Texas? Did he put up good yards?
Yeah,
was
I mean,
decent,
maybe had a
right?
good catch
He was,
down the
it was
line
his
as well.
best game of the season.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
went off.
Okay,
Just because it was on national television, but
that's the only reason he went off.
and we don't want to talk about the state game.
Yeah,
He was bad in that game.
against us.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was
for
terrible.
sure. Really bad. 8 and 9.
8 and 9. We'll see.
We shall see. It's gonna be very interesting.
I'm gonna have to work through a crazy tiebreaker just to figure that one out. That one, Jack's probably gonna have to put in all of his predictions, but we'll see.
What do you mean, all my predictions?
We'd have to put it all into
Oh.
the NFL thing just to figure out that tiebreaker.
We can just move on then.
There's a 3-way tie for your 7 seed, and
Ooh,
That's kind of
tough.
fire.
not sure who
Who's the
down to
3-way tie
would
between?
come out.
Dart will sit. Neighbors is still there. Defense will be much
Cowboys,
improved, and they have a run game now.
Buccaneers, Packers.
Yeah.
Which I
That's a very
believe the
fun 3-way
tiebreaker
tie.
is NFC
Wait, who's it? Cowboys, Packers.
Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
That is crazy. Wait,
Head to head if it's available.
how are
which
the
it isn't.
Buccaneers? Who did you have win? Oh, the Falcons win the
Yeah.
South. That's fair. Okay.
Which it wouldn't
Fly,
be hard to
Falcons,
figure
fly.
out. You just have to figure out how many the NFC winning percentage.
Sven, who would you? Are you starting Wilson or are you starting Winston in New York to get to 8 and 9? While JP continues to do his tiebreakers.
You can go whenever you're ready, Sanders.
I'll wait till you're done. I'm enjoying talking with Sven for a few minutes
Okay.
about the Giants. Yeah,
Where did Dallas go? Schubert.
3-way tie. It'd be fun. Get a coin flip. I don't think anything will ever compare to that Packers Lions 2 years ago, when it almost came down to like the Sunday Night Football game for the playoff spot.
Yeah,
Eagles win the NFC East.
but thanks to Geno Smith, it did not.
True. Yeah, I agree.
One.
Actually, Sven's got the Eagles winning it. JP, you want to tell him, or I'll tell him your stat. How long has it been? 8 years? 10 years?
Since
2004.
2004.
Oh.
My birth year.
Jeez, never mind. Sven, there's a stat that since 2004, no team has won the NFC in back-to-back year. NFC East in back-to-back years. So every year it's a different team. So Eagles won it last year. So if you believe JP, it is statistically impossible for the Eagles to win it this year.
Yep. Okay, so Jack's NFC standings are locked.
Cool.
Who's the 7 seed?
The Packers outlast the Cowboys and the Buccaneers to make the postseason.
That's tough. And so does that put 3? So you have, is that 2 or 3 NFC East teams or North teams that make it?
He's got 2
Two?
NFC North teams, 2 NFC South or NFC East, and 2 NFC West. You have two new playoff teams. So you better hope you have a ton in the AFC. Otherwise, your predictions are invalid.
Sven, the Giants won 2 Super Bowls in the early 2010s. So
Early 2000s.
no, they won it with Manning in the.
The first one was in 07, but then I guess the second one was in the early 2010s.
Thank you. Okay, so they won 2, one right before the early 2010s, one in the early 2010s. He said nobody had such a good team since 2004. And my point is, you had one team win 2 Super Bowls. And
I'd argue the Eagles is the example here. In the past 3 seasons, think of them making the Super Bowl elite all year, and then the following year they have tons of questions for whatever reason. They will lose games they're not supposed to. I mean, think of the Monday Night Football loss to Drew Lock in Seattle. The Jets loss. They lost to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers that season. In New York, where Jalen Hurts played really bad. And then they get into the postseason, and they don't win the division because the Cowboys, Dak has his basically MVP year.
Yep.
And they basically just don't show up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game for whatever reason. So even the Eagles, coming off the devastating loss to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they're the best team in the division, and they should be back in that spot again. And like the Giants and Commanders are still terrible at that point. So it's the Cowboys that are their only threat, and they still couldn't win the division. And then they come back and win it the next year. So my thing is it's no different. I think it's Eagles Commanders, and we've all got the Commanders winning the division.
He's saying he said nobody had such a good team. He means nobody has such a good team. So he's saying no one in the NFC East has as good a roster as the Eagles have, which
Yeah,
I would argue is fair. Like the Eagles probably do have the best roster in the NFL.
I don't disagree, but our big thing in our Eagles one is go to the schedule, and I think it's a consistency thing as well. Like, they play tough games. The division should be better.
And they replaced 3 starters on that defensive line?
They replaced a ton of starters on the defensive line. The big thing with the Eagles that I'm concerned about, and more people are concerned about as well, is because of the losses on their defense, they have no veteran who is like the leader of the defense. They don't have a Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox
Josh
anymore,
Sweat,
or
Darius
James
Slay.
Bradbury. They don't have any of those kinds of things. Their leader right now is the white safety. What's his name?
Not DeJohn. The other one. Yeah.
The white. I forgot his name off the top of my head, but he would be like the leader. And they brought back Zach Bond, who is now just his second year with the team, and he would be the leader from an age perspective, but not just necessarily the leader of the defense. They have a ton of young talent, but I'm just curious, is the young talent able to play and fly around and do all of those things when it's not going well, when you lose a game, when Jaden Daniels throws for 450 yards on you?
Just what he does.
It's just going to be, I think that's my concern right now, is will that defense be as elite as it was last year, which was top 3
Yeah.
and arguably number 1? I don't know. I'm just curious there. And then I think offensively there's questions I don't think there should be questions necessarily on Jalen Hurts anymore. But Saquon historically has not been a player that stayed healthy 2 years in a row.
Yep.
A.J. Brown, now that he's won a Super Bowl, is he going to be toxic in that locker room? I think that's entirely possible. And he was toxic last year even. And now he's going to be a guy that just wants to put up numbers. And Jalen Hurts is not a quarterback that just throws it to his top guy all the time.
Mm-mm.
In fact, he doesn't throw it really at all. He's in 22 attempts a game instead of 30 or 40. And so I have questions there. I think and the Commanders have questions as well, but Eagles, good roster, yes, but they have shown, that was also in that Eagles video, I was like, look at their last 3 years, and in fact, even look at their last 4 years. Jalen Hurts, not necessarily a great year. They missed out on the playoffs. Great year, historically great year. Make it all the way to the Super Bowl, lose. Come back, what the hell happened? That was kind of like a disaster season for whatever reason. Bring in Saquon, they're electric last year. That's kind of been part of the course for Eagles history too, like even in the Mike Vick days and the Donovan McNabb days. Nick Foles, coming off a Super Bowl win, is not great the next year. They lose the division, and then They
Did Foles start the next year?
He
I thought
started
the next year.
a fair amount. He ended up starting towards the end of the season, and they lose the playoff game to New Orleans.
Yeah.
But it's just
I was going to make that same point of like you have MVP front runner quarterback coming off, an ACL injury, but he comes back and then you don't win the division the next year. So it's just
historically
you win the
they've
Super Bowl.
just never been consistent.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years, even though they've been really consistent over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
Sure.
And Roseman was the GM for all that. And I do agree, Howie Roseman has done a fantastic job of building that team. His draft, his scouting, and everything has been elite. However, he's not perfect. And if anyone could have just solved or figured out how to always draft the guys who are going to pan out and work out, it would have happened. So to just act on the assumption that he's never going to miss is a little bold, because he's going to miss, because everybody misses. There is no perfect way to be sure you only bring in guys that are going to work out and be Fletcher Coxes
Sure.
and stuff. So Roseman is, as far as team building goes, probably the best GM in the league right now, but he just can't always hit. And so that's part of what goes into it, is kind of the assumption that, he's been hitting a lot recently. He's kind of due for a miss. So that applies specifically to the defensive line, just because you are replacing so many starters with guys that are in-house. And so the question will be, did he hit another round of guys, or has he finally missed a step? Want to go ahead and go?
Yeah, we got to move on.
Yeah,
We gotta roll.
49ers. All right. Let me pull it up. The San Francisco The San Francisco 49ers are coming off their worst season since 2010, which makes 2 6-win seasons following a Super Bowl loss in the last 5 years. Following that 6-win season in 2020, the 49ers drafted Chase Young, second overall, and went on to win double-digit games in 2021. I could see a similar outcome in 2025 as they return several players who missed parts last season with injuries, including wide receivers Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk, and then interior offensive lineman Ben Barch and safety Malik Mustafa. There's several variables that could determine the outcome of the 49ers season. The offensive line should continue to be excellent, led by 15-year veteran Trent Williams, but big questions loom in the backfield and wide receiver core. After playing a complete season in 2023 for the first time since 2019, Christian McCaffrey proceeded to miss all but 4 games last season. In his stead, fantasy football fans quickly fell in love with Jordan Mason, who trailed off after the first couple weeks. And then if McCaffrey were to go down this year, the duties would fall to second-year running back Isaac Guerendo.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've seen in the past, the drop-off from elite guys like McCaffrey to even decent NFL starters is still pretty noticeable. So on the defensive side of the ball, it looks very different than it did in February of 2024 when they lost that Super Bowl. They've lost
Eric Armstead.
Thank you. I'm missing a letter in his name. So Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Cleveland Farrell, Dre Greenlaw, and Charvarius Ward. Those guys are all gone, and they were starters on that team that went to the Super Bowl. To try and make up for the losses, the 49ers spent their first 5 picks in this last draft on defensive guys, bringing in Mikael Williams and Alfred Collins to start, and then depth pieces C.J. West, Nick Martin, and Upton Stout. The last and potentially most important piece is what it will look like in Brock Purdy's 3rd full season as the starter. In year 1, he put up elite numbers with talent around him in Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle, who all had over 1,000 yards receiving, and 2 of them had 8 touchdowns or more. Purdy took advantage of this to finish 3rd in the NFL in yards and touchdowns, but in year 2, Kittle was the only one to clear that milestone, while the other 3 all missed time, or the other 2. The fact remains that the 49ers are paying Purdy top 10 money, which leads to my first question. Do y'all think Purdy is a top 10 quarterback? Or if he's not, could we at least see him put up top 10 numbers to help this 49er team get back to the playoff?
Yeah, I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. As much as I guess I don't really want to say I'm a big Purdy guy. I was a huge Brock Purdy guy at Iowa State, and I'm happy to be right in that regard. But I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. Guess there's a world where he could put up top 10 numbers, but as you kind of talked about with the receiving core and such, I'm not sure I expect this offense to be one that's just kind of explosive and puts up big yards week in and week out. So
Brock Purdy is not top 10. In fact, he is. I have him 8th in the NFC. So given the talent in the AFC, that's barely inside the top 15, I believe, for me. He was just, from a numbers perspective, if you threw that graphic in there, he was actually pretty good last year. Right on course with the guys we've already talked about in Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford. 3,800 yards, 96 passer rating. He was a pretty good quarterback in fantasy. I believe he was top 10 from a fantasy points perspective. But 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and in large part it was interceptions that he threw changed the course of the game and lost them the game. The 49ers were 6-11 last year, and with the talent that was on that roster, it's kind of inexcusable. Even if it was injuries aside, like, there is still so much talent on that field. And even like with the backup running backs, with Jordan Mason, with the weeks that he played before he got hurt, and then with Isaac Guerrero, like, they, given their offensive line, were still an elite ground game, and it was still not good enough, apparently, for Brock Purdy to go out there and win football games, and they lost a lot of questionable games last year. And, you know, the 49ers should not expect to go 6-11 when your quarterback starts the entire year. I think that's the biggest issue for me, is like a top 10 quarterback for the most part, and in most cases, if they play an entire season, that's not a team that goes for 6 wins.
Yeah.
Sure. Think of Dak Prescott, like, even with all the kinds of weapons, and that's a guy that they compare Brock Purdy a ton to, and a lot of people think Brock is better than Dak. Dak, when he's played an entire season, has never had a losing record except once, when he was 8-9, and that is with all different slots of weapons, receivers, running backs, and Dak has the same offensive line help, so it's a great comparison there. But Brock was fully healthy last year, had no issues after a Super Bowl season where they, have the lead in overtime and couldn't get it done. But he was 6-11. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is I like to think of, like, wins matter a ton, because that's the difference in, that's what the game matters. That's what you play the game for, is to win or to lose. And that's why, like, Matthew Stafford is viewed so highly, is because he does go out there and win the big games. And without the roster that he has, like, while they were only 10-7 last year, like, Matthew Stafford is still viewed very high. And he didn't have great numbers last year, as we showed earlier. He's still viewed as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. So I think Brock, for me, is definitely not top 10. I have him at 8 in the NFC, which would put him probably around 15 in the NFL. I just don't think he was worth the money that they gave him. And now that's potentially going to be a problem for the 49ers going forward.
Yeah, I agree. He was very much a product of offensive scheme in Kyle Shanahan. Right, Kyle? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kyle. And then also the weapons around him in McCaffrey, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk. And so he benefited from that. And then with the loss of those guys, he kind of just wasn't able to. You were just talking about Kyler Murray not being able to, like, carry a team. I don't think Brock Purdy is the guy that could carry a team. And so there is some, I guess, reason in paying him that top 10 money. I mean, not necessarily top 10, but there was a reason the 49ers wanted to keep him, because I think one of the things that they were trying to maintain was consistency in that, because they knew that Brock Purdy, I mean, we just talked about the Cardinals and how they lack chemistry. They knew that Purdy had chemistry with those weapons, and so they wanted to maintain that, because you can have all the weapons in the world, and if you don't have the guy who's going to be able to get them the ball, like we're seeing with Murray and Harrison Jr., it doesn't work. And so I think that there is some validity in paying him just not that much money. And I don't think that I'll be interested. A lot of it will come down to Pearsall to see, can Purdy put up numbers like that again. I think Kittle's getting a little bit older. I don't think he's quite where he was. Probably he's not the top 3 tight end he was 3 years ago. He's definitely still top 10, but he's not up there with Brock Bowers and Trey McBride and a couple other guys. So I'll be interested to see how that looks. And then Ricky Pearsall, I think, will be kind of what defines that skill group. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was suffering. He got shot last year. Is that what he missed last season, or part of last season with a bullet wound? And then another. I mean, the biggest thing is going to be, is Christian McCaffrey healthy or not? Statistically, I think it is likely he will not be healthy, because that is how he is most seasons. He has not had back-to-back healthy seasons since, like, year 2 and 3 or year 1 and 2 of his career. Like I said, 2 years ago, the Super Bowl run, Super Bowl run year, or they went to the Super Bowl. That was his first year where he played the whole season since 2019, so 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think that Christian McCaffrey and that wide receiver room are the offensive line is going to be great. Like they're going to be really good. And even with a backup, he's probably going to still have 1,000 yards rushing, and it's not going to be Christian McCaffrey. So that'll be kind of what I'm interested to see is McCaffrey healthy, and what does that wide receiver room look like without Deebo Samuel?
You have something?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. It's not a group I'm necessarily very high on. And then, of course, I kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, I just feel like talking about paying Brock Purdy because he was consistent and you kind of know what you got from him, right? And like he at least got his weapons the ball, and not everyone can do that. I personally think that's a lot of scheme stuff.
Yeah,
there's a lot of other guys that could have done that. So I personally wouldn't have paid him. I don't fully understand that, but
yeah. So how much money? Wilson and Winston, they're making like $20 million with the Giants. Is that right? $20 million a year.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
it's
And
like
Purdy's
18
getting like
for
40?
Wilson.
Purdy's getting like 40.
He's getting 40 plus. I think he's 43 or 44.
Okay, I guess that's like it's top 10 money. I'd have to pull up the over the cap and like compare all of them.
Sure.
But like I would much rather have a guy like Brock Purdy as my quarterback than a Jameis Winston or a Russell Wilson. Or how much is Geno getting with the Raiders?
Geno is, I think, in the same group, around 40 million.
Yeah, so like I would argue that Geno Smith and Brock Purdy are in a similar. I know you're higher on Geno Smith, but
Am I?
It's just, in my opinion, it's the philosophy of like, unless you just have this home run QB, paying them that kind of money, you're just really hamstringing your flexibility when it comes to like not just winning regular season games, but like putting together a roster that's going to take you all the way.
They trapped themselves is
Correct.
the way that this should be put. They were put in a spot where they had no choice but to pay Brock.
oh, Brock is making
Because-
53. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, he's making
53.
so much money.
That
I didn't know
is-
that either, but that's just like,
Yeah. Geno is making around 40. He's making 37.5. So I was very wrong there. I don't know why I thought he was making 40.
that's just so much
Yeah.
money for a guy that none of us view as a top
Yeah, just
third.
for perspective,
QB in
I'm
the
going to
league.
list some of the guys around him. So a couple guys ahead of him, you've got Josh Allen making 55, Joe Burrow making 55, Tua 53.1. Jared Goff is also making 53. I think there's an argument to be made that Jared Goff and Brock Purdy are in similar situations where both guys are have benefited from being members of elite offenses run by very good offensive coordinators and head coaches with great weapons around them. Justin Herbert's making 52.5, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray at 46, and then Browns legend Deshaun Watson making $46 million a year. Yeah, I was very wrong about that. You have to go down to Geno Smith making 37.5.
So he's making Joe Burrow money, Tua money, Goff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know there's some other bad contracts up there, and I get like
Lamar Jackson, he's making
as
more than
more and
Lamar
more people
Jackson
get
and
paid,
Jalen
he'll
Hurts.
fall down the list. But like, that's just so high for a guy that is not a game changer at the quarterback position. That's game changing money.
Well, they
So-
had no choice, and that was
Right.
what I was going to say is they trapped themselves because of the success that he had and not paying him early. And this was a contract negotiation that could have been done before this prior season. And even after the terrible season that he had from a win-loss perspective, they still waited and waited and waited through the offseason and then finally paid him. And the number just continues to go up and up when you do that. Brock had tremendous leverage because, like you were saying, Sanders, like, who are you going to get instead of him? A Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
Is Russell Wilson better than
Gardner
Brock Purdy?
Minshew?
No. Is Gardner Minshew? No. And so, because this is a team with the players that they have, like, they need to be going and winning now. Like, this is Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to wait around and rebuild for a year. He's already been through that hell with the C.J. Beathard years and the years prior to Jimmy Garoppolo. So they were forced to pay Brock Purdy, and now Brock has to deliver for them because when you have guys like Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner who are not getting any younger, these are win-now players, and so they were trapped into this. And it's unfortunate, but they also did not handle it well. And now Brock is, what is he, third highest on the list in terms of money guaranteed over the next few years. And
Is that what you're asking me to look?
third.
He is he's like 1,
Eighth.
3, 4,
Okay.
5, 6, yeah, eighth.
Regardless, he is getting paid $50+ million a year to be their quarterback, and he's going to have to carry them to wins, which he was unable to do last year. I have tons of questions about the roster, too, now. The 49ers, they only have 4 starters on defense from the 2024 Super Bowl team, and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, and then starters that aren't big names in Lenore, cornerback, and Jairi Brown, the safety. So this is a defense that is not necessarily elite like it used to be. I mean, they lost a ton of players from that defense as well. Dre Greenlaw, Javon Hargrave, Ufanga, the safety, Charvarius Ward, who was their best corner, and then they lost cornerback depth as well, and Isaac Yiadom and Rocky Sin. So this is a defense that's going to rely on these picks that they just had, and I would expect 4 of those 5 guys are going to start games for them this season. Mykel Williams is pretty much a shoe-in to be the other pass rusher with Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
And then Alfred Collins is the starting defensive tackle. He's the best defensive tackle they have in-house now that they've lost guys like Javon Hargrave. And so this is going to be a team that now relies on those players. They bring back Robert Saleh from the New York Jets. He's now the defensive coordinator again in San Francisco. So they have high hopes there. And Saleh did an excellent job with developing these kinds of players into being these names. So he was a large part in the reason of why Fred Warner really rose, and even with Nick Bosa. Yes, they're super talented, but Robert Saleh was an excellent coach and coached them up as well. I mean, you think of Ufanga and Dre Greenlaw. He makes them perennial players and household names and part of 49er defenses that were elite. And so now the defense is going to rely on Robert Saleh and these rookies to be productive for them.
Sure.
So it's going to be a key piece for them. In the last 5 seasons, teams that finished with a top 10 defense averaged 10.5 wins, and teams with a top 5 defense averaged over 11 wins. So San Francisco is looking for that, I think, to help with the fact that Brock Purdy's their quarterback and the weapons there. If they're going to reach the postseason again, that defense is going to have to be elite. I think it's got to be top 10 again, and there's our serious questions there with the rookies that are going to have to start and play valuable snaps for this team.
Yeah, and I like their defense was good last year, but something I want to point out is they've kind of been known these past couple years under Shanahan and just recent history of having an elite run defense. And last year they were 18th in opponent rush yards per game, which is just not at all up to a standard. It's below average. And so talking about how you have a great defense overall, but when you're trying to close out games or get one more stops in close games and you can't stop the run in crucial moments, that's just pretty back-breaking and can be an Achilles heel. So that's something they really need to improve on. And like you've already talked about, the only improvement to be had is the guys they've brought in, these rookies. There's not really any established vets they brought in to shore that up. It's going to have to come from Alfred Collins, C.J. West, Mykel Williams. So I'm very interested to see if they can do that, because I think they were top 5 both of the years prior, and then to drop to 18th, they need to find a way to get back up at least to above average.
Yeah, Bryce Huff is the only addition that was not in the draft that's going to be impactful for them defensively. He came in a trade from the Philadelphia Eagles to the 49ers, so he's a chance to be other pass rusher as well with Mykel Williams.
You don't think Trey Brown will be impactful as a starter?
I don't.
When you say
start,
impact, thank you. That's what I was going to say. When you say impactful, do you mean starter or do you mean like
I don't
about like you mean
I don't see him being as impactful as the guys that they
I see
lost.
what you're saying. Yeah.
More importantly, like Bryce Huff has the stature and the ability to potentially be impactful
Yes,
for
now
them.
I see what you're saying.
That is, they're going to rely heavily on him as well this season. Offensively, like, they're not healthy either. Christian McCaffrey, I'll go ahead and say it, he looks slow in training camp. And while clearly he's not running at 100%, there are serious questions there. And that whole injury situation was just nasty last year. Essentially, everyone who had the number 1 pick in a fantasy draft last season got screwed. I would say the F-bomb. I'd say they got fudged. Like
It was bad.
It was bad.
You can't not take him.
Exactly.
But I was cooked.
And so McCaffrey plays 4 games last year. He essentially develops the arthritis or whatever it was called in his other leg throughout the season, and then all of a sudden it looks like he popped his Achilles against Buffalo, but he really tore his MCL. And so McCaffrey is coming back off a huge injury in a season where he did not play a ton of games, and he's going to have to be – he's the best weapon on this offense. Brandon Ayuk is on the PUP list.
How many before you move on to McCaffrey? How many? The only other guy I can think of that's had arthritis would have been Todd Gurley, right?
Yes.
Interesting. So when Todd Gurley had arthritis, it was just his career trajectory and his ability just
It's
very
completely
quickly
possible with
dropped off.
Christian, and I hope it doesn't happen because he is such a. I mean, I think back on the Super Bowl, like he was playing at an elite level, and I put serious money on him winning MVP. And if they score a touchdown in overtime on that first drive with McCaffrey, he was going to be Super Bowl MVP if they were able to stop
Sure.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
And so it is insane to see how quickly that turned around in just a year's time after coming off a year where he scores in almost literally every game. In fact, scoring in 16 straight games, he scores a touchdown. It's crazy to see the switch it has become for the San Francisco 49ers. And in the receiving room, Ayuk is on the PUP list to start the season. Week 7 is the earliest he could possibly return, and I would not expect him to be 100% until late in the season at best. He's been by far the best weapon for Brock Purdy in terms of throwing it through the air. He is elite at getting open across the middle of the field, which is the kind of ball that Brock Purdy has excelled at throughout his time in San Francisco. Ricky Pearsall cleared the PUP list earlier today. He's now practicing at camp. That was just a couple hours ago, so he's expected to be there. Juwan Jennings, they were able to work that out and get him re-signed, and so he's their second best weapon. He had some great games last season from a numbers perspective. He was almost a Super Bowl MVP as well with his touchdowns that he had in that game. In fact, he threw for a touchdown in that game as well, so that was a large part and why he was almost the MVP. But the receiving room is lackluster at best. Like Sanders said, they're going to rely on Ricky Pearsall a ton to make a big jump in a season where he really didn't get a chance to really develop. And they lose kind of some depth there. They lost Chris Conley, who played a lot of snaps for them at wide receiver last season. So the big discussion on Brock Purdy has always been, is it the fact that he has the Avengers that's making him good?
Yeah.
Or is it that he's actually this good? And last season, it would say it was the Avengers. And I'm curious to see if we'll say that again after this year, because he won't have Ayuk to start the season. McCaffrey, I don't think he's 100%. Kittle is not getting any younger, and he's going to have to be, Brock is going to have to be the horse that, carries his team along the track. And they're going to have to rely on their defense as well. A top 10 defense, or they are not making the postseason this year for San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
As it gets into the schedule, they'll have 4 primetime games, 2 on Monday Night Football, a Thursday Night Football, and a Sunday Night Football. They open the season in Seattle, and then week 2 they'll come to the Dome, where they will, in my opinion, beat the New Orleans Saints. That was one of the games I changed, by the way. But we all have the San Francisco
JP
49ers
low on the Saints. Breaking news.
going 11-6, and we all have them second in the division to the Los Angeles Rams.
I think I have them winning the division, I thought.
You have them winning division, sorry.
Yes.
But we all have them going 11-6. So in that case, we all see them having a productive season. What are the reasons that you think they can get over those questions that we just laid out for about 15 minutes?
Weak schedule. I went into making my picks pretty low on the 49ers and didn't even know if I was going to have them having a winning record or if they were going to be sitting around the 9-8, 8-9. But this schedule just works out really well. I was like, well, I think that's a win. That's when, because for all the questions they do have, they still have a lot of experience and a lot of talent in kind of some key positions, or just I don't know, guys I expect to get the job done against weaker teams. And so I ended up there. They won 11 games. I don't have them tied at 11-6 with the Rams. I much prefer the Rams roster, and I think the Rams are a better team. But I just thought this schedule was pretty favorable. And I don't think the 49ers are terrible, because obviously if you're terrible and have a weak schedule, you're still not winning 11-6 games. They're going to handle business, but I just think it lays out favorably for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's the fact that they finished 4th in division last year.
Correct.
They get the 4th spot schedule, so they play the other 4th, and so they play they get to play the Browns, they get to play the Giants, they get to play
Carolina,
the Jaguars, or the Saints. I'm just trying to look at it off the top of my
the
head.
Saints, yeah.
Titans. That's part of the AFC South.
Did you say the Giants?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of other teams that, like Jack said, the 49ers are not your typical fourth spot, four seed, four whatever. They are not your typical fourth ranked division. And also, I have a big part is O-line play. I think their O-line is going to be elite. They were top 10 last year, and I expect them to be as good or better, getting 2 guys on the interior back from injury. So I think that's just going to be a big part of it. And like I said, with McCaffrey healthy, you're talking like divisional or maybe even a conference championship game, getting that far. If Ayuk comes back and can play at his peak. But without McCaffrey, you're still looking at the backup having probably 1,000 yards rushing, and then it's the offensive line is still going to be very good.
I think it's going to be a really fun season for a 49er fan because now you once again get to be the hunter.
Yeah.
You're not the hunted anymore. You're not the villains of the NFC. You're not Brock Purdy's got the Avengers. That's the only reason it's happening. Like now it's like your players get to go out there and prove these kinds of things. And I feel like in-house that's going to be really motivating as well. Like Fred Warner is going to be really motivated to play at an elite level because now the 49ers are being doubted. Nick Bosa is playing another season where Donald Trump is in office. So it's a huge conspiracy theory. Nick Bosa is also elite at sacking non-white quarterbacks too. I would research that one. It's actually very intriguing. So it's funny joke aside. I do think it's also.
I mean, he might be racist. Let's be real.
It's completely possible. You know this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, might not. It also seems a little not. It doesn't seem strong enough. He's probably racist.
It's completely true. I don't know the number. I would say he's been seen in a MAGA hat. Not that makes you a racist straight up, but that is another contributing factor to this. And the stats show that he, for whatever reason, likes sacking black quarterbacks more than white quarterbacks. And unfortunately, that's racist by definition. So Nick Bosa is going to have another year with Donald Trump in office, his president of choice. And so we'll see if he can.
That is confirmed.
That is confirmed. Well. He said he voted for him. That is neither racist nor.
And he had a MAGA hat on.
That is
so
just a statement.
That's confirmed.
He confirmed that he voted for Trump. Cool.
But I meant that in saying that, like, I think it's going to be a fun season for 49ers fans. Now we're not the villains of the league.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we're the underdogs, and I think that can be very motivating and help them prove some things. Vegas has their win total at 10.5. I feel like with all these teams and their win total, I did not bet on any of these 4 while I was in Tennessee because it's like with all 4 of these teams, it's like they could win more games and they could lose more games. So and the number could be anything. Like this number could be 9.5 or even 8.5. It would be like they could lose less than 8 games. They did it last year without the weapons and with Brock Purdy under the helm. So it's a go either way division. And I think it'll play out that way, although we have kind of the same conclusions. But Arizona has a chance in this division. San Francisco could easily just return to the form that they are. I think Sanders makes a good point. And I think it's the point of the 49ers is the offensive line is still going to be really good. And because of that, they're going to be able to run the ball effectively, whether it's McCaffrey or Garendo. And so I think that's just going to carry that team. That kind of puts their floor higher than other teams in this division. And then we'll see with Bob Sala on the defense if they're able to produce a top 10 defense and climb the ranks in the NFC. As a group, we have them finishing 12-5, which is good enough to be the 6th seed in the NFC, finishing
Shout out to
with
them.
the same record as the Los Angeles Rams at 12-5, but losing the tiebreaker and finishing as the 6th seed. That closes it out for the 49ers. Any final thoughts before we move into our final team?
Do you have any
Seattle Seahawks.
49er thoughts? Because I have a small tangent
No.
as we're in between teams.
No, I don't.
So, okay.
Take it away.
Do you have any more? Okay,
No, I got to look up the Nick Bosa numbers real quick.
cool. You were talking about Todd Gurley earlier, and just like, I don't know, it reminded me. Do you remember the video, or did you ever watch the video of him and the ESPN reporter at the water park after he got all of his money? Yeah, him and this like reporter, they're at a water park, and it was like a water park interview. and it's like they're going down water slides and stuff. It's really weird. It was
like
fun
in
to
the
watch.
tandem tubes, like where it's like two.
No,
tubes
no, but it was like they were walking, like they were walking around a water park. I think that
Okay.
they filmed them going down a couple slides, but it was just like, just a one-on-one, get to know Todd Gurley interview, and I was like, dang, this guy's a nice guy, and
Maybe
his
he
knees
just really
went.
likes water parks.
I think that was kind of why they were there. Is he's a water park guy.
Honestly, there are worse guys you can be. Water parks.
Okay, you're
Water
You're
parks.
from Boston, all this.
Yeah, water parks. Water parks, pretty great places.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, I was
Yeah,
like, that's
water
kind of
parks are
funny.
pretty cool.
It is kind of weird to be. In terms of like, I don't know, you see a grown man by himself at a water park.
That's weird.
That's not a great place to be.
Aren't there rules that like there's like is it Disneyland? Legoland. You can't go by yourself as an adult.
Oh, I don't know about
I
that.
feel like that's a rule where Legoland in Florida, if you are an adult, you cannot go by
Can
yourself.
two adults go?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just don't want one adult walking around.
Okay. I don't feel like that helps very much then, but
I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying friends simply have shared interests. So, are we ready to move on to the Seahawks?
I do want to say I have the stat. 2 years ago, the season they went to the Super Bowl, Nick Bosa, when facing white quarterbacks, had 0.6 sacks per game. When facing black quarterbacks, he doubled that number at 1.2 sacks per game.
Cool.
Science.
Yeah. That's stats. That's
You
statistical.
can't argue with data.
Did you ever see the Todd Gurley interview?
I did not see
Okay.
the Todd Gurley interview.
You
no.
see the weirdest interviews. You saw the Justin Herbert and Michael Pittman interview. Well, that wasn't really an interview.
I think it's kind of my thing, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
your feed is
I
just
just
like-
like getting to know the players,
Yeah,
and then I end up liking the player more.
true. What's your favorite interview you've seen? Any good Johnny Manziel interviews?
All the John Manziel ones are great because it's like, man, this guy was actually just insane in college.
My favorite. I watched the Johnny Manziel documentary, and my favorite part is when his coach is like, he talking about how he watched zero film, and it pans to Johnny. He just goes,
He knows he messed up, man.
he was like, I didn't. Yeah, he's like, no, that was in the NFL. That wasn't even college. It was like,
Oh,
yeah.
I know. I'm just saying. Like,
Yeah, I'm
he-
just-
he will
I
tell
was
you like
correcting myself. I
he's
was
the
correcting
first reason
myself.
he didn't make it in the NFL.
Yeah,
The Johnny ones are good, kind of for different reasons, because it's like, yeah, I mean that's just insane.
yeah.
The
I
harder
kind of want to go back and watch that.
the
now.
harder I partied, the better I played, and that kind of seemed to be true at least in college.
Otherworldly. Me.
Seahawks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Seahawks. Take it. Well, give me just a sec to.
Man, he scuffed the graphic. That's a
no,
big
no,
strike.
I literally have it saved right here. It's literally gonna take me
Yeah, but you didn't have it loaded.
2
into,
seconds. There we go. Seattle Seahawks.
Good save.
Yep.
The
Ripped it.
Seattle Seahawks.
Sorry.
The Seattle Seahawks went 10-7 last year with Geno Smith under the helm. Seahawks local media is extremely high on their defense, which last season was top 15 from a rank perspective. Local radio, I listened to one of the local shows in Seattle a ton for no reason, but just to listen to it. They're saying that signing Geno and DK back would have been a straight up disaster. They view Geno as someone who is outside the top 18 in the league in terms of quarterbacks.
Sanders agrees with that.
Their offseason had big question marks on the offensive line, and that continues into this season. They worked to fix that with their first-round pick, Gray Zabel. But the right guard and center are huge questions, according to local radio host in Seattle. Geno was sacked 50 times last season, the third most in the league. Sam Darnold, now the Seahawks quarterback, who they gave a healthy 3-year, $100.5 million contract, was sacked 48 times, the fourth most. So my first question to y'all, then, cue the Sam Darnold graphic. Does Sam Darnold have what it takes to elevate this team to a higher place than Geno, who made the postseason 2 years ago and then finished just outside the postseason last year at 10-7?
Yeah, I don't really think so, to be honest. He's not someone that I expect to fight through adversity. He's someone that kind of folds like a cheap suit in big moments, in my opinion.
I mean, the games last year would confirm that, given that he not choked, had his worst 2 games in the 2 games that mattered most. It
I
was
have
the
those.
game for the 1 seed.
Mhm.
Oh, you
In the last 2 games of the season last year, Week 18 at Detroit, playing for the number 1 overall seed and to win the NFC North, he threw for 166 yards, 18 for 41, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks, 55.5 passer rating.
18 for 41.
18 for 41.
He
a less
completed
than,
44% of his passes.
exactly. And wild card weekend against Los Angeles in Arizona, not even in the Rams facility, he threw for 245, 25 completions, 40 attempts, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, which the interception was kind of a game-changing one, and a 77.6 passer rating. That all comes off a season where he threw for 4,300 yards, 102 passer rating, and 35 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, and led the Minnesota Vikings to 14 wins.
And he
So-
got to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, which
This is
does
true.
not exist on
And-
the Seahawks roster.
Yeah. I also think Jordan Addison was a very decent
Yeah.
second string wide receiver. So I will say this, as a guy who's been high on JSN since draft day, I found this out earlier this summer. I actually had him mocked going at 6 overall to the Raiders in 2022, I think.
Yeah.
So very
No.
proud of that. That if he has another really good year, I would start to
You're going to start to flex that a little bit more.
be like, well,
Sure.
I was high on JSN. So JSN is not Justin Jefferson.
This is not a team devoid of weapons. for
Correct.
sure.
They've got JSN. They've got Cooper Kupp, who I know Jack is very
Yeah.
low on.
Before
but
we get into that, I
Yes.
want to get into Geno first.
Yeah.
So
Go,
this
go,
is
go.
who he's replacing, and cue the Geno Smith graphic. Geno, of course, across his last 2 seasons, made the postseason 2 years ago, missed out on the postseason last year on a tiebreaker. Not on a tiebreaker. He missed it by 2 seasons because the NFC North was elite with the Packers and the Vikings. Geno threw for 8,000 yards the past 2 seasons, 18 and 14, 67 completion percentage. The big thing for Geno, and the big thing for me, which I'll make this argument, and it's a large part of my argument on Wednesday, is the game-winning drives. Geno was elite at that over the 2 years. Seattle was in a ton of games that would go either way, and they easily could have been way worse than they were, and they could have even been better than they were. And yet Geno led them to 9 game-winning drives, which is something Sam Darnold is going to have to do as well because they're no better or worse necessarily as a team compared to the years they had with Geno. And Sam Darnold, over the past 2 years, realistically, he really only started 1 year. He had 2 game-winning drives last year. So they are going to expect him to replace that. And then the time sacked is a huge thing. Sam Darnold is going to be under a ton of pressure, which has always been a question about Sam Darnold, is that he doesn't deal with pressure well. He throws stupid picks, and he kind of got away from that notion last year, being sacked the 4th most in the league and still having as productive as a season as he had. But the offensive line is still a huge question, and so Darnold is going to have to deal with that while trying to replace a quarterback that, by the numbers, was top 10 in the league the past 2 seasons, and in fact top 5 in a few categories that matter to you. Darnold now with his weapons, which you can pull the 2024 Seahawks one first. Last year, JSN, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett, as well as Noah Fant, had very productive seasons for them, 500 yards plus. JSN had 100 catches, 1,130 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was targeted 137 times last year by Geno Smith. DK Metcalf with 66 receptions was targeted 108 times. So this was a team that threw the ball a ton with Geno. I will be curious to see if they'll do that again. They have no changes in the running back room, bringing back Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who were actually big-time pass catchers for the Seahawks. A lot of checkdowns, a lot of design screens, those kinds of plays were ran a ton. A.J. Barner right now is their starting tight end. Had a decent season, especially from a
Because
touchdown
Noah Fant got
perspective.
released, right?
Noah
Yeah,
Fant is
couple
not
days
there
ago.
anymore. He's got released because of their first pick, which their third pick. Apologies. Elijah Arroyo from Miami, the tight end, is looking to potentially be the starter at some point. But you look at the weapons that Seattle has. Do you think Sam Darnold can flourish with these kind of weapons? DK Metcalf is not there anymore. Now it's Cooper Kupp, who is, pull up that fantasy football one, drafting inside the top 90 out of players in a PPR league. And, of course, JSN top 40 there, or top 35, and Kenneth Walker right there at 41. Do you think Sam Darnold has enough weapons to continue the success you saw out of him last season?
He does.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the weapons they have there. They're definitely, it is not Justin Jefferson, but JSN and Cooper Kupp and Kenneth Walker are, I think, a very good skill group. And then also Marquez Valdez-Scantling, deep threat, right? Sometimes I get all the
he's a deep threat. That was his thing.
Kinda all he
in
does.
New Orleans.
Yeah. So that was his thing at Green Bay is where I remember him from is he was basically just, you are just going to run a go route. So he brings that to the table. So it's a very diverse group. I think that it's going to be decent and suitable. So it'll just depend on was what we saw from Sam Darnold for 16 weeks what he is now, or was what we saw from him for 2 weeks what he is, or is he somewhere in between? And if he's anything besides what we saw for the first 16 weeks, then it's just not going to go well. I think anything less than that, and it's just going to be the same as probably less than having Geno Smith there, and that they're going to be maybe make the wild card spot or they're going to miss it. But it's not going to be. They're not going to win the NFC West. It's not going to blow anybody away.
You kind of got rid of the surefire vet, right?
In Lockett.
In Geno.
Okay.
To bring in Sam Darnold. And I do think Sam Darnold can have success here, but he's someone I'm just kind of always waiting for something to go wrong and then for it to snowball. And so I can even see a world where this never really gets off the ground if the first couple of weeks are rocky because he hasn't gelled with the receivers, right? And he starts trying to do too much and gets in his own head, and all of a sudden he can't stop taking terrible sacks and he's throwing picks, and then it's like, okay, who's their backup? Do we know?
Drew
Their
Lock.
backup
It's Drew Lock.
is not going to be Drew Lock, more than likely.
Oh, Jalen Milroe then.
Is Jalen Milroe.
He's not necessarily when I'm like, well, let me go hand over the key. You're not handing it over to a Joe Flacco or someone like that. But, I mean, I'm just saying, like, this could blow up.
Yeah.
This so easily could blow up. But at the same time, there is just as more likely of a scenario where there's good weapons in Seattle, and he had a good season last season, and he keeps it rolling.
And I will say this to Seattle. Seattle is fortunate in some ways in that if it does blow up and Sam Darnold is week 18 and wild card Sam Darnold, then maybe you throw Milroe out there and he's got weapons around him and you say, well, maybe he can finish the season, winning like 2/3 of his games.
Local radio has already guaranteed. Now, this was in large part after the draft. After them drafting Jalen Milroe, they guarantee that Jalen Milroe is going to start a game next year. They fully expect that. They think Sam Darnold, because of the offensive line, is due for an injury at some point.
That's fair.
And that Milroe is going to start. They're really high on Jalen Milroe, and of course they would be. They're local radio. But because of the talent, I mean, this guy was a touchdown beast at Alabama, scoring a ton of touchdowns last year. But the questions were like the things that make a quarterback good, which is throwing the ball, completing the short ones, the dink and dunks. He's an elite deep ball thrower, which I think he can do well with, especially with a guy like MVS and even JSN. And Arroyo is an excellent over-the-middle, deep tight end, not necessarily a guy that's going to be a pass blocker or run blocker or someone who's just a jump ball threat in the red zone. He's someone who can catch it over the middle of the field. But they expect Milroe to start a game at some point this year, which I'm really intrigued if that were to happen.
I will be tuning in if he starts the game.
He is must-see.
100%.
He is must-see TV because of the talent and some of the plays he makes. He was the best player, for whatever it's worth, in College Football 25, the video game, by far.
Matters a ton.
He was absolutely elite, completely unstoppable. And so he's expected to potentially start at some point this season. But Sam Darnold, because of his contract, 3 years, $100 million, he's the option this year for sure. More than likely the option next year, but not a ton of it's guaranteed. So they're not trapped here with Sam Darnold. But they kind of chose him. It's a big talk in local radio as well, is the Geno and DK situations, which is in large part why they would call re-signing them disasters. Geno reportedly was in contact with Pete Carroll many times throughout last season, and they think that is tampering maybe, and that is a reason he ends up in Las Vegas signing there instead of back with Seattle. And then DK was always kind of a question for them. Did he like Seattle? Was he getting the ball enough? Stuff like that. And that was a huge reason why he ends up going to the Steelers. And
wide receivers are kind of idiots, man.
Exactly.
Like you end up in Pittsburgh, which I get like it was a trade, right? You didn't necessarily have but it's just so funny that I think they can convince themselves that anywhere else is better than where they are.
Yep. They chose Sam Darnold, though, and that was kind of their choice in terms of the options they had available. They offered a similar contract to Geno Smith, but Geno took the one in Las Vegas because, it's worth way more money. In fact, roughly $3 or $4 million more a year, and a lot of Geno's contract is guaranteed, unlike Sam's.
Sure.
So they kind of chose Sam Darnold, so that's kind of their choice. But it's the biggest question mark for Seattle is how will Sam Darnold play, and that goes in with the offense as well, with the weapons that he has in the offensive line. Going over to the defense, they expect local radio as well that this is a top 10 defense in the league. And because of that is why I brought up that stat earlier in the 49ers, and it's why I'm going to bring it up here again. In the last 5 seasons, teams that finish with a top 10 defense averaged 10.5 wins. Teams with the top 5 defense averaged over 11 wins. And so Seattle, they're really high on their team, and they're really high on their defense, and they think because of the players that they have, that they can be a team that can, because of their defense, make the postseason eventually. Jaron Reed is a great defensive lineman for them. Byron Murphy has been good in his years since Texas. The big signing of the offseason and the big story kind of the offseason before Sam Darnold was the signing of DeMarcus Lawrence from the Dallas Cowboys. He signs a 3-year, $42 million contract and then tells the media that he basically had no ability to win in Dallas. They were handicapped, although he was historically, over the last 3 or 4 seasons, the top 3 highest paid players on the Cowboys. So maybe you should man up and play some football and win them games because you're paid top 3 on the team, which he did not produce a ton over the past few seasons. But he is now on this defense. Their defensive backs, I think, are really, really good. Tariq Woolen and Devon Witherspoon didn't have great seasons necessarily from a PFF grade standpoint, so Sanders is probably lower on them. But they also add Nick Emenwari. Sorry, I didn't even want to try to pronounce it.
You're good. We got you. Sanders got you.
He, I think, they think he's Cam Chancellor 2.0 on local radio there too. It's
local radio.
It's local radio. This highlights exactly what local radio is like, and they think he's going to be someone who's going to be really good for them. I don't expect him to start, but he could be in some nickel packages and some dime packages for Seattle. I guess my question to y'all is, are there weapons or players on this defense? Does this defense have the capability to be top 10 in the league this season?
I think they do. I'm not necessarily, it's kind of well known on the least knowledgeable NFL guy on this podcast, but I at least like the defensive playmakers they have, especially like Tariq Woolen, Devon Witherspoon. Like, they have guys that I trust to go make plays. And even if they didn't grade out very well last year, I feel like they did make plays when they were needed. And so I like that aspect a lot, and I trust them to kind of tighten up and get the job done.
Yeah, you make fun of me for, they weren't graded high. They were graded high in PFF 2 years ago, though. Mm-hmm. So I'm still high on them. It carries over. It's not a one and done, give up on them kind of thing. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, after that season, I remember being like, wow, do they have the best young cornerback in the room in the league right now? Mm-hmm. And that didn't play out this year. They were not the best this year, but they're still very talented. And also just the fact that where they were able to find them with, I think Woolen was a 5th-round pick.
So he was a late-round pick, yes.
Yeah, Woolen was a 5th-round pick, and then Witherspoon was a 1st-round pick, but he was part of that same draft class as Christian Gonzalez and Emmanuel Forbes that we were talking about earlier. Where was he drafted? Was he the first?
I think he was. I don't remember where he was, but he's.
I kind of want to say he was first off the board.
I think he was also first off the board. It is not loading.
Or at least out of those guys.
Yeah, he was 5th overall. Wow. So that same class a good cornerback class, or at least Witherspoon and Gonzalez have been good. But I do like both those cornerbacks. And then the Seahawks have done a pretty good job also in drafting, and JSN, Witherspoon, Charles Cross, who they hit on 6th overall in 2022, and then also on the other side of the offensive line, he's not exactly didn't play like it last year, I don't think, but Lucas Abraham, I believe, played good his rookie year. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to see how that pans out, and it'll also be they bring in Gray Zabel in the 1st round to help out on the offensive line. So.
It's funny how quickly they flipped on Gray Zabel, the local radio. Now they don't believe in Gray Zabel, in which...
They were excited to draft him, right?
If you remember, yes, they were so excited about him. and they did an interview with him, and they thought he was the greatest guy ever, and he was all about football. And they were the way they were talking about him, it was like they were talking about how people were talking about Will Campbell and that kind of personality and potentially that kind of production. And now they are not high on him. They think he's a question mark. So it's
Why? Do they have reasoning for this, or just
so
like,
his reasoning was, because he's a rookie, he's not expected to perform really well, which it's historically that's true.
It usually takes offensive linemen 2 to 3.
so it's more of a like they reverted back to the mean from
Yes.
being really high, more so than they have like specific reasons for being like, oh, he's looked terrible. In
But they
training
were
camp.
quoted like after the draft that they thought Gray Zabel could potentially be the greatest offensive lineman in Seattle Seahawks history. And now they're
Wow.
they're low on him. So we'll see how that plays out. And he's going to have to be a key piece for them on the offensive line. He's kind of like their third best offensive lineman behind Abraham Lucas and, of course, Charles Cross, who was not in the top 10 in terms of offensive tackles in the most recent release by Jeremy Fowler, who's been releasing all the executive rankings for all the positions. And Charles Cross was outside that, but from a great perspective, he's played in that top 10 level, and he's kind of a surefire left tackle cornerstone for them. Getting into their schedule, they're in prime time 4 times this year, and they are big games for Sam Darnold that will be obviously heavily televised because it is nationally televised, but they will be talked about a ton because they want to see – that's when Sam Darnold is seen on national television, and you don't see a ton of Seattle Seahawks games or Cardinals games or Rams games because these NFC West teams are not in that first window. And by that point, a lot of your fans are not watching necessarily. That's when we're going out to dinner and stuff
Sleep
like
on
that.
the couch.
And they, a lot of time, are forced out of the national television, like the 4 o'clock window, because there's a big game in that. And then Seahawks are also on Fox, and they're behind that game, that like the Cowboys game or the Packers game or whatever it is. And so you're not going to see a ton of Sam Darnold until these primetime games. And so I think a large part for the narrative for him this season is these primetime games. Thursday Night Football at Arizona is a pivotal game early in the season. It's a pivotal divisional game as well. Monday Night Football, think of Seattle, Monday Night Football, tons of big games throughout their history there. They're hosting the Texans this year. They go on a bye. Sunday Night Football at Washington. That'll be a huge game. Jaden Daniels is must-see TV, so Sam Darnold compared up against Jaden Daniels will be fun to see. And then late in the season, they'll host the Rams on Thursday Night Football. But their schedule is not necessarily easy because of where they finished last season, finishing second in the division. And we're not high on them, I think, in large part. I'm curious to see y'all's opinion. Is the schedule is a huge part of that? I think for me, the biggest part is I just don't obviously see Sam Darnold as good as Geno Smith. And I think a large part of Sam Darnold last season was Justin Jefferson, and just maybe it was just good fortune. And those last 2 games really showed what Sam Darnold was, in my opinion, and what we expected him to be. To throw another holiday at it, you said Sam Darnold kind of always snowballs Christmas. Nick Wright calls it Sam Darnold going pumpkin mode, and that was a huge thing throughout the season. He finally goes pumpkin mode to the end of the season, so I'm curious to see when he'll go pumpkin mode this year as well. I have them going 6-11. How do you guys feel with the schedule? Y'all, it's funny. Y'all have kind of like a reverse flip. So Sanders is really high on the Seahawks to begin the season and in their first 7 weeks before the bye, winning 5, losing 2. But Jack is really low on the Seahawks to start the season, going 1-6 in their first 7 games. And then it flips because y'all both end up with the same record at 7-10. So Sanders, speak to why you think the Seahawks start off hot, starting the season 3-0, and then we'll come back to Jack.
I think part of it is because we disagree on like who we're high versus who we're low on. So because I'm lower on Pittsburgh, I've got them beating Pittsburgh. Jack has them losing to Pittsburgh. And then later on, Tennessee, I've got Tennessee getting a win. Tennessee getting a win against them. I've got Carolina getting a win. So I think a lot of it just kind of shakes out like who they're playing against. Like me and Jack probably agree about where this. I mean, like we clearly do agree about where the Seahawks sit as a team. They're both sitting at 7-10. It's just we disagree about where the hard parts of their schedule lie. I think it's on the back half. Jack thinks it's on the front half. So I think that's probably where the main difference comes from. But
1-7 to start the season, Jack. Would Jalen Milroe start at some point? if
I
it were to
think it's
happen?
possible.
I think they start 1-7. He definitely starts.
I think if they're 1-7, there's a good chance for things to get weird in Seattle, and that's kind of what I predict to happen. And I don't know. But I think it's gonna be a thing of like when things get weird, like they're gonna have some games where they kind of pull off some big wins, even if it maybe isn't Sam Darnold starting, or he maybe just has randomly a good game, or the defense pops off. Because it truthfully isn't really the schedule why I have them. I mean, I have them winning at San Francisco to end the season. I have them winning against Los Angeles, week 16. So it's not like, they take advantage of an easy schedule. I just think things are going to get weird. And even if the quarterback isn't going well, there's enough around them to kind of pull off some interesting stuff. I don't know.
So you've got Sam Darnold starting 1-7, and then Jalen Milroe comes in and goes 7-3. Is that right?
I don't even know if it's going to be Jalen Miller. That'd be
6-3.
fire. That'd be amazing.
That's kind of what that
6-3.
schedule looks like. It
That
looks
would be
like
electric.
they go loss, win, lose 5 straight. Milroe comes in, win, loss, and then close it out. Beat Los Angeles, win on the road at Carolina, win on the road at San Francisco. Jalen Milroe MVP? Question mark.
No.
That's what. Look, think
get
about it
rookie
that
of
way.
it.
I don't.
Rookie of the year for
I don't know if when Milroe's going to start. If he does, that's what I'm rooting for. What you just described, because that would be so funny and
That would be
very
hilarious.
electric.
As an Alabama hater, I cannot cheer for that, but it would be quite funny.
I would.
You have said roll tide, good sir.
Sausage
Do
roll.
not.
So
Do
you call
not-
yourself an Alabama
I'm not
hater,
going to tell this story
and yet you
on
also
air.
said roll
worn-
tide.
haven't you
I'm not
worn
asking you to tell the
Alabama
story.
attire?
I
And
hate
he's worn an Alabama
I hate
polo.
Alabama. I hate Alabama in part
Have you?
because I have said roll
No.
tide and
And
worn Alabama
you're
polo.
dating a girl who's an Alabama fan.
Yeah,
You've been dating her for 3 years.
I've never said that. I've said roll tide ironically,
Yeah.
I had only ever
but
said it.
never said it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'll cheer for the only time.
Have you ever been to an Alabama football game?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I went to
But
an Alabama
not to
football
an
game.
Alabama football game wearing an Alabama shirt. I was there
I went.
cheering on the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Oh, see, I got to go to the Alabama Georgia game,
Yep.
which was very cool. I did say roll tide. I wore an Alabama polo. And I regret both of those things now.
Well, so you should be high on Jalen Milroe then,
No.
given the way he played in that game.
No. Jalen Miller was
Alright.
so bad. I had him in fantasy. I had him in my college fantasy league. It was
He led you to a title.
He did.
He led you to
I
what
hated
in the
every
world?
moment of it. Actually,
He led you to
No, I
the
did-
inaugural
Never
title
mind.
of the Dynasty League.
I'm gonna stop talking about Alabama right now.
Sure.
Okay.
I hate Alabama. I hate Alabama.
Let me just say, I don't really have tons of reason as to why the schedule
That was just the way it
Also-
panned
out that way.
out.
That's just
Also-
the way it panned
Yeah.
out.
My hatred for Alabama goes back to like they hurt Tim Tebow, dude. They hurt Tim Tebow in the SEC championship. They gave him that. They hit him in the back of the head or whatever.
Sure.
I hate Alabama so much.
I don't think that.
They
But
were-
you
they
used
were
to
the
hate
bad
them,
guys.
and now you've come around on them.
I hated
You
them.
did.
I hated them, and then I put on a face of I can stand them, and now I don't have to anymore, and I hate them again.
See, I don't hate them at all
Really,
because I just think there's a lot more
they were
hateable teams in the
no,
SEC.
see, they were the bad guys of my childhood, though.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. I always just hated
See,
LSU
you were an A&M
more.
fan. They were in the SEC, so you don't care.
I mean, they were in the SEC in 2012. At that point, I was 8 years old. So the stuff I remember most vividly is we were in the SEC.
Yeah.
But I always thought LSU. I hated them more.
Really?
I hated teams like Florida and Tennessee
No,
more.
I
I always had some sort of respect for Nick Saban, what he was doing at Alabama.
Nope.
I hated losing to them,
Hate Alabama.
but I mean, we have beat them in a couple times.
Yeah.
So
I never liked them until I could stand them with Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Bryce Young was the first quarterback. I was like, oh, I
Wait,
actually
when was Bryce
liked-
Young the quarterback? He was there 2020.
He was the
One?
year the year after the COVID season, the year after.
So the
I
year
didn't
you
mind-
and Abby
and
started
he was
dating.
there.
I didn't mind.
So the year you and Abby started
I
dating.
didn't mind too
I
either.
I've never said roll tide or wore a Crimson Tide shirt. So
Yeah.
I also think
Yeah.
there's these later years as Georgia's really come on the scene. I've always disliked Georgia more. So as they're playing in the SEC championship game, I find myself rooting for Alabama because I really dislike Kirby Smart and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so there I am. I'm like, Tua, I need you to make this throw, and then bang, he hits Devontae Smith, and it's like, okay, good, Georgia doesn't win.
Let's get back to the Seahawks because I have to figure out if I'm gonna try and cut this conversation out of the YouTube video.
absolutely not.
All right. Well, I hope you Seahawks fans care about what we think about Alabama.
It's for the show.
Y'all
he
do have
hates y'all because he doesn't like Jalen Milroe.
That's
We're
right.
over
that's
here.
their
We're
third
pro.
string quarterback.
I have a Seahawks jersey, 2 actually.
I do not. I do not have any Seahawks jerseys.
I have a Russell Wilson one.
I
I
have
was
a-
devastated
jersey.
when Russell Wilson threw the pick on the 2-yard line. That broke my heart. I'm right there.
I think
with
it broke everyone's.
I was-
Alabama
I-
and the
we were
Patriots are the
celebrating.
same
I was
thing.
in
Yeah,
a
'cause you're-
Patriots household. So.
Yeah.
Alabama and the Patriots are
That
the
was
same
sick.
thing. They're both the bad guys of our childhood.
See, I can get behind that with the Patriots, but not with Alabama.
I do hate the Seahawks for the replacement.
This is
refs
for
game.
the Seahawks fans. Why
That
are you
was
telling Seahawks
bullshit.
fans
If you
that
remember that one, the Monday Night Football one where
the
it was
Green Bay Packers
thrown
one?
into the Hail Mary.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
he
that
had
was.
a hand on the ball, and that's a catch for.
I think Seahawks fans know
Oh.
that was.
That one hurt me as
That was
the Aaron
hard.
Rodgers lover. That one did annoy
Yeah,
me.
that one. Was
We're just
bad, but
dissecting all the Seahawks.
Who
lore.
knew that? Yeah, I was about to say who knew that we all had such deep Seahawks lore.
I will be wearing
My younger
a
brother
Seahawks
Harris.
jersey very soon. So
Harris is like a Seahawks fan in the same way. He's a Lions fan, but he likes Geno because he had him on fantasy 2 years ago. His
But he
first-
also is a
his first-
Titans fan, so you just like the whole league.
no. Okay, he's a Lions fan. He's a Will Levis fan, and he's a Geno fan.
So he's a Raiders fan now.
I don't know. He's probably gonna be like me. When Peyton left the Colts, it was a lot. Like I wasn't a huge Broncos fan. Like I was. I don't know. I don't think he's gonna follow. I don't think he's gonna follow him. I wish. Where's my iPad? Harris, I texted. So when we'll do this after this. We'll do this after this.
when
The Seattle Seahawks.
Seattle closes out the season in a loss to San Francisco, I will have them at 6-11, and it's in large part I am not high on Sam Darnold, and I think a big part of it is they're going to be in a lot of close games, and I just don't see them pulling out those games because they don't have Le Goat, Geno Smith, who had 9 game-winning drives for the past 2 seasons, which was second only to potentially the GOAT of game-winning drives, Patrick Mahomes, who had 12. I just don't see them closing out the close games, and they're going to have a ton of them this season, I think. And I just that's my question mark there. So that's why I have them at 6-11. I have them 4th in the NFC West, while Sanders and Jack have them 3rd. But that closes out our NFC West as a group. We have Seattle going 6-11 as well.
Does that put them in 4th for group predictions?
It would
think it
depend
should.
on the head-to-head. Well, now it would depend on the wins and division.
We don't have to go that far.
And
Yeah, it don't matter. Neither of them making the playoffs.
now, hold on. San Francisco, Rams. Oh, now it depends on how many wins they had against the NFC. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll go over to Arizona. Arizona has 3, 4. So the Seattle Seahawks are 3rd in our division, and the Arizona Cardinals are 4th in the NFC West. Rams at 12-5 end up being the 2 seed in the NFC for us, with the 49ers with the same record at 12-5, but the 6th seed. That closes out the NFC. We will decide if this is our official projections. We'll see. We'll see what the average one looks like when we do that. But as of now, we have the Commanders as the number 1 overall seed, which matches what Jack and Sanders have as their number 1 overall seeds. As the 2 seed is the Los Angeles Rams, the 3 seed Detroit Lions, the 4 seed Buccaneers, 5 seed Eagles, 6 seed Niners, 7 seed Cowboys. That is 2 new playoff teams out of the NFC, which means we better catch up the slack in the AFC. We'll see if that happens. Otherwise, our predictions are invalid. But that closes out the NFC West, and that closes out the NFC, and we look forward to a massive episode on Wednesday of the AFC West. Geno versus Justin Herbert. Chargers fan versus Geno Smith fan. And very much more
Diehard
as
Chargers
well.
fan.
Yeah.
You like got
facts.
the diehard.
Favorite Chargers quarterback outside of Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert.
Drew Brees.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I know ball. Actually, my younger brother was born a day late because my mother's doctor was watching Drew Brees play in Los Angeles
You're
or
not
San
high
Diego.
on Ryan Leaf.
Not particularly. You missed an awesome story.
Didn't he start the fake spike movement?
Yes, he was also one of the biggest busts of all time.
Well, yeah.
Dude, My sorry, the story is just that my doctor was like, yeah, I'm gonna be. I know you're trying to have a C-section, but I'm gonna be in the office a day late because I was playing golf this weekend and I realized Chargers tickets are cheap, so I'm gonna go watch Drew Brees play. And then he flew back, and my brother
Wasn't
born a
it
day
Drew
late.
Brees versus Phillip Rivers?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
But-
because my brother was born in 2004, so Rivers was drafted in 2004. So
That's cool.
Let's wrap up the show.
My Chargers
Oh,
lore
never mind.
runs deep.
I think that's your brother's Chargers lore.
This is my family.
Okay,
so.
fine.
I have a statement from Harris on Will
Okay.
Levis. So as y'all all know, Will Levis.
Hello,
had-
this is Jasmine.
No,
Oh,
that's I got a
Spam.
spam text offering me a job that pays up to $500 a day. So
You get a newbie bonus as well.
of $1,000. Can I just take the newbie bonus and then quit?
You got to send a WhatsApp message to this person instantly.
Probably will not. Okay. So Will Levis had shoulder surgery on Monday. And my mom texted in our family group chat for those of y'all that know, and I feel like most of our friends do. And for new listeners, my youngest brother is 14 and a huge Will Levis fan
Mistakes were made.
because he's a Kentucky fan. And my mom texted on Monday at 11:05 a.m. and said, Will Levis has shoulder surgery and out for the entire season. I said, Harris, can I get a statement for our group chat, yapping with all of our friends? I said, they're worried about you. And my mom said, do I need to call 911 for a wellness check? And my little brother sent a photo of him sticking his head in the oven.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's giving, it's literally a selfie of him in the oven giving a thumbs up. Like, I'm going to be okay, guys. And then I texted him and said, Harris, can I get a statement to share with the guys so that they can know? And I forgot to text it to y'all. But he texted me. He sent a whole paragraph. And it wasn't, I was expecting, he goes, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here to celebrate the career of William Donovan Levis. He was called trash by some, dog water by others. But for me, he was everything. I'll never forget his first NFL game when he threw for 4 touchdowns, or when he led a comeback on Monday Night Football against the Dolphins. How long ago that seems. But now it's over. He's gone, and all we have left are memories. I know it will be difficult to recover, but I must find a way. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go out and buy a Tariq Skubal jersey because the Detroit Tigers are winning their first World Series in 40 years. Let's go.
We may need a wellness check on that because they have lost 12 of their last 13 games.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
it's been going.
So,
They're a fraud now.
yeah.
Apparently.
They were
Harris just can't catch a break then.
They were 59-34. They are now 60-45, and I think they lost today as well. So
13 of their last 14. Then.
yeah,
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I'll check on Harris again this evening. I'll text him and be sure that he's doing
it's
all right.
over.
It's Jover.
The Will Levis thing.
Tariq.
Also, I love how it's like
Football.
he's gone when it's like he's just like he's gonna come back and probably be a backup.
Yeah, but like
He's not out of the league
his
yet.
career as a starter is
I don't. Oh, I meant to talk about this when we were talking about the Seahawks.
The Detroit
and
Tigers won today.
forgot, unfortunately.
nice.
Against
Congrats.
the team with the best record in the MLB, the Toronto Blue Jays.
There are a couple things I forgot to talk about at multiple points. At one point, I wanted to talk about how the Seahawks revived Geno Smith's career. So I was curious if we would see something. Not Sam Darnold's career has already been revived because he went 13-4 last year. But I was curious. Like, I'm wondering, does he produce there the same way? Like, does the fact that they revived Geno Smith's career set them up for success with Sam Darnold? We don't have to talk about that. That was just a question I wanted to throw out. Another thing that was funny, this is if you look at the depth chart, so Damian Martinez, Mississippi State legend, he was here for Super Bowl Dog weekend. I believe the same weekend as Haley Van Lith, 2 recruits that we missed on. So those would have been program defining for the football and women's basketball teams.
I have one more question to ask you about state guys. We were talking about the 49ers additions or lack of in free agency and how they really focused on front 7 in the draft, especially defensive line, to shore it up. They did bring in Stone Blanton, Mississippi State legend. How does he impact
Well, he's
their
got to
run
make
defense?
the roster first.
Also, JP does not consider him a Mississippi State legend because we did not beat Ole Miss with him here.
Yeah.
Mississippi State player,
Yeah.
Stone
Yeah.
Blanton.
JP's one qualification for being legend is beat Ole Miss, legend. Lose, not legend.
There's other ways to do it, though.
I know, I'm messing.
That's a shoe-in, though. Anyway,
That's a
Yeah,
shoe,
if you
yes.
beat Ole Miss, I mean, I started listing players off to JP he never heard of, and I was like, they beat Ole Miss. He was like, well, they're a legend. So,
that's how it be. We can wrap up the show.
man, I wish we'd gotten to our pillars and stuff this summer. That'll be
Yeah,
next summer, I guess.
That would have been. That can be.
we can
yeah.
talk
We're
about
not
it
gonna have time,
during
maybe.
football. Oh,
We'll
Mississippi
have a
State
topic
football.
at some point.
We're not going to have time at all. Tucker texted me asking for my Rushmore of Mississippi State people.
Yeah.
I said
That's a solo video you come in and film and post, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
here's
yeah.
my
Hey,
pillars.
once the studio is in my house, bro, I'll start recording.
You better be a content machine, bro. No,
dude.
Well,
I'll start.
if it's approved by
Yeah.
management.
Yeah. I'm gonna start doing emergency podcasts for a lot of random stuff. I'm gonna start solo podcasting NBA stuff.
I think you just do emergency Instagram lives or Instagram stories
I don't know that.
if you wanted to do that instead of an emergency pod that's posted on YouTube, unless you
Yeah.
had 10 minutes of stuff.
Or
to talk
something
about.
like truly,
Truly groundbreaking.
Yeah.
They all just are like can't get to the studio.
Well, I mean,
and,
if we had the studio and we were like the Luca podcast would have happened if we were a thing at the time.
dude, I wish it
I
had.
don't-
We
I don't
missed
know
it
what
by
I
like a
I don't
month.
think I would have said anything.
That's fine. You could have
Hour.
sat there and just said,
I
"Why
think
would you
we-
trade Luca
I think
18
we would have
times
had
in
to
a row?"
mute JP, and it would have just been him sitting and go, "What the?" Just the
I wasn't.
entire
It
time.
wasn't out of like necessarily even anger. It was just like,
Confusion.
what?
Yeah, fair.
All right.
Let's wrap it up.
2:15. Two.
Great
live
podcast,
for
fellas.
2:30.
If you tuned in and watched the whole thing, thank you very much.
Nobody did, but
Appreciate it. If not, enjoy the chopped up segments that are a lot more manageable. They're little morsels, you can munch on
Digestible.
throughout
Yeah.
the day. Yeah.
appetizers.
It's not this massive alligator we brought out to feast on. So, hope you all enjoy, and we'll be back for you on Wednesday to do our final division, the AFC West. Please tune in. It's going to be a great one. Peace.
See ya.
It is.